We'll begin our regular school board meeting for the Nampa School District on December 15th is the day. We will open first with a pledge of allegiance. So if you all please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we will welcome guests probably when we come back from an executive session, but we'll move on to our mission and vision. So if you would recite, please, with me, the mission statement. The mission of the Nampa School District is to ensure high levels of achievement for every student. And the vision, every student is fully engaged in extraordinary learning experiences, preparing for a successful transition to the next stage of life. Okay, next is approval of the agenda. Before I ask for a motion, there was a couple of late additions. Did that change the agenda? They were just addendums to items already on the agenda. Okay, all right. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Trustee Taylor. We do have Trustee Taylor on the phone, and we need 4 trustees to move into executive session. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
Chair, I move that we move into executive session per Idaho Code 74206, 1B, D, and J. B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school student. D, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 of Idaho Code. And J, to consider labor contract matters authorized under Section 74206(1)A and B of Idaho Code.
Second.
And motion and second have been made. Roll call.
Chair Kirkman?
Aye.
Trustee Taylor?
Aye.
Trustee Jennings?
Aye.
Trustee Behrens?
All right, we'll move into executive session. We'll be back at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, we will resume our regular board meeting. And we've already done the call to order, executive session, so we'll go right into the spotlight. Dr. Russell, program spotlight.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, want to share one of our spotlights this evening. Has to do with our college and career counselors. And in October was College and Career Counselor Month, and they do an absolutely incredible job of that. And wanted just to have them come and maybe share some of the work that they've done and just how much time and energy they put into getting our kids to think about their post-secondary life.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm Mallory Esman. I'm the District College and Career Coordinator. So I am stationed at Skyview High School, but I also have time at Nampa High School and Columbia High School, as well as working with our middle schools. We did have our college application month during October, and that is a huge lift, and we do a lot of hard work in the Nampa School District for college and career. But today I want to talk to you about my favorite program, which is Escalera. And can you guys see my slides? Perfect. So Escalera is a program that we run in the summer. And it is run by me, Bianca Juarez, and Monica Cimental at Nampa High School, but it encompasses all 3 comprehensive high schools. Then we also invite our alternative high schools to participate as well. We target about 30 students. Go to the next one. The program is geared toward first-generation college students in our district. We primarily try to target the students who are not in TRIO already. TRIO is also a program for first-generation students. So we try to get a student who has not yet had the opportunity to go on particularly a college tour. Oftentimes, these are our students who are also from low-income backgrounds, often migrant programs. So we work with our homeless liaisons as well as our migrant liaisons to try and target the right kids, and then also our ESL programs. So we've been in existence for about 3 years now. So when we started, we were completely grant funded. And we hosted our program at NNU. It is an overnight program. So we have the students stay in the dorms on campus 2 nights. And we have about 30 students typically. And then we also have peer mentors. Those peer mentors, we try to have those be former Nampa School District students who are currently in college. So that's a really good option because it helps them see, oh, someone like me is actually in college doing this. And then it's also a really good opportunity for them to ask questions about the program at the same time. So after we had our super successful year 1, we were then able to set aside some money within our college and career budget to actually make sure that we can have some longevity. And we then transitioned to Boise State for the 2nd year, and then the 3rd year, this last year, we also hosted it at Boise State. So again, we try to really just immerse our students in the college experience and help them feel as though they themselves could potentially attend college or university in the future. Next one. This is just a sample schedule of some of the things that we do. You will see that all of it is translated in both English and Spanish so that we can accommodate all of our students. I would say probably like almost 90 to 95% of the students speak Spanish who attend this event. And of our staff, I'm the only one who is not bilingual. Estoy practicando mi español. But we do try to make sure that all of our information is translated into both English and Spanish so it is equitable for everybody. We also have some programming within there that talks about the financial part, because finances for college is one of the most scary things for our students, especially first-generation college students. We also have a lot of fun. So you'll see within that sample schedule that we do some really fun stuff. Sometimes we'll do bowling. We've gone on a hike before, and the students really just have the opportunity to get to know each other. This year, we actually had a talent show, and that was my favorite thing we've done so far. It was a huge blast. We had multiple students who actually turns out have some serious pipes. And so they sang. We also had a student who did like stand-up comedy. We had students who drew. It was really fun, and we got to invite their parents to come see that as well. You can go ahead and go to the next one. So our programming consists of a few different facets. So the important one is empowering stories. We try to invite people who have backgrounds similar to theirs to talk about what they have done and how they've gotten there. Luis Caloca, he's a big friend of the Nampa School District. He has students who attend Nampa School District. He's also the president of our Nampa Schools Foundation. He shared his story. We also brought in Lillian Pablo Cardillo, and she talked about her journey to higher education and mastering being the first generation college student as well. And one of the things that I thought was really important that we shared was what others didn't see was the times that they almost gave up. And oftentimes our students will face something extremely challenging. For a lot of our kids, they've already faced something extremely challenging, even as a sophomore in high school. So this is a really good, important time for us to say, hey, you can do hard things and we can help you to get there. We really try to leverage some educational tools. Like I said, we have a lot of, everything is in English and Spanish. We teach students college terms. We actually had them write essays for scholarship application, and we gave out a scholarship this time. So all of the students walk away with a lot of leverage skills. And then we try to be equitable in everything that we do. And then we also really encourage family engagement. We send out information way ahead of time. All the students have to have their family's signature, of course. And then we also have postcards throughout the summer. And then we do have the family night where we invite parents to come to the event. And they get to actually see what we've been doing. Go ahead. These are just some of the things that Lillian really emphasized when she spoke. And I do want to explain ganas. So ganas is really, for those of us who are not fluent in Spanish, it is really more like your motivation or like your empowerment, your desire. So she talked a lot about resilience and grit and why it's important to work hard, but also to have that thing that comes within you that helps you to overcome those difficult things. So that was one of the things that I felt was really empowering for our students and hopefully encourage them to continue on after high school. And then here's some data. So we do a pre-survey and a post-survey. We ask the students a whole bunch of questions, and they're such good sports being willing to fill them out for us. But at the beginning of this year, we had an average of a 3.5 out of 5 on rating how comfortable they are with the following statements. So the first one is, I know where to look for resources that will support my academic goals. That rose from 3.5 to a 4.6. So by the time they left, they felt much better about where to turn for help. Same thing about I can figure out anything if I try hard enough. That jumped from a 3.9 to a 4.7. So ideally, we're helping these students identify that if they work hard, they can achieve it. And then the last one I wanted to highlight is just I know someone who can help me with the college and career journey. That one jumped really high from a 3.1 to a 4.6. So ideally, all of those students say, okay, now when I'm going back to school, I know who at Nampa High, at Skyview High School, Columbia High School, Union can help me on my journey. Go ahead, go to the next one. These are some student testimonials, some students, just what they've said about the program. So nothing is impossible. College can be for everyone. Obviously, I really like that statement. I enjoyed being able to meet new people as well as knowing that I'm not alone. It can be a very siloing experience sometimes to be a first-generation college student sitting in maybe a college credit course when everyone else says that they plan on going to college and all their family has. So for someone for whom it's the first in their family, that can be scary. And then this last one is in Spanish, but the gist of it is because of this, I know how to apply for scholarships, and the doubt that I had for myself as a student is overcome, and I feel like I can take on life at university. Go ahead. All right, I rushed through that as fast as I could for you guys. I just wanted to open up. Do you guys have any questions or preguntas?
Yeah, I got a quick question. So do the students, when they go to the campus, do they get to spend any time inside like in a classroom? At a lecture hall and actually see what's going on? Okay. That was one of the things my daughter, feedback from my daughter when she first started college this last year, she didn't really, she'd heard what a college class was like. And then when she actually got in there, it was something completely different to her.
So because it's summer, they don't get to actually be sitting in like a class, but all of our classes are hosted on campus in classrooms. So the student isn't being taught necessarily by a professor. They might be because we do partner a lot with the colleges and universities, but often they're not auditing a class. But that would be something that I would like to look to incorporate because you're right, that is something that can be a new experience for everybody.
Yeah. And then I would just add, parents should be utilizing these college and career counselors also, because I had a great experience with the one at Columbia with my daughter, and I learned a ton that I didn't know about, or I'd at least forgotten. So it's a great resource for parents.
Thank you. We would love to have parents come talk to us. One of my favorite things is when we have a family sit down meeting. One of my least favorite things, though, is when it's a parent and the student doesn't show up. The parent's like, well, when I'm filling out these scholarship applications, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
You're not filling out these scholarship applications. We're doing it together.
Right. Trustees, any other questions? Thank you so much for your information. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Russell.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman. Trustees, next we have, just to give some appreciation to our trustee Kirkman, Chair Kirkman, who is stepping down at the end of this meeting. And we wanted to get trustee Kirkman a little token for your service. And the first meeting I believe we were struggling to keep schools open, if I remember right.
Yeah,
We were trying to
I
figure
remember
out,
that conversation.
we didn't have, it was just from the world as in COVID, and 4 years went by so fast. But we got a little plaque that just, it really says thank you for all the service you've done to the kids and the staff for your time here, and a little card, and just want to thank you for your
Thank you
service. for
very
that. I
much.
really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Well, I'll just move right into the comments then, so I can make a comment. And you guys know me, I can say a lot without saying anything. So, but it has been, I am fulfilling my commitment of one term, so I'm stepping down after one term. But it's been truly a pleasure to learn. I would suggest everybody take this opportunity, if you have it, to become a trustee, run for trustee, and you really get to know how the district works. One thing I've really been just amazed at is the level of professionalism with this district. I mean, we came in and it was topsy-turvy at the beginning. It was a little rough, wasn't it?
It was
Trustee
rough.
Taylor? Wasn't it, Dr. Russell? It
Yeah,
was a little,
Yes,
it
it
was
was
a little
rough.
rough. We had a lot of stuff going on. But without the leadership of Dr. Russell, who came in as interim superintendent, and he put some staff in place, his cabinet in place, and we took off from there. And I really appreciate your leadership, and I don't think it wouldn't have been as good an experience for me without your leadership, Dr. Russell. So I really appreciate that. And then, of course, with the trustees, and we've been through half a dozen trustees, but what's the matter? Trustee Taylor and I have been here from day one, and we've worked well together, and she's become a trusted friend of mine, and I really appreciate the support that you've provided me. So anyways, it's been an amazing experience. I've learned so much, but anyone who is thinking about running for trustee in the future, you've got to remember, stick to your values, stick to your what you believe in, but be willing to look at so many different things, because it will open up your world to new ideas and new thoughts, and you've got to be open to other things. So anyways, that's all I have. I could talk forever on it, but any other questions? Or no questions as to why I'm leaving, but any other questions?
No, but I got a comment.
I didn't say comments, I just questioned.
I thought we were doing trustee comments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so trustee comments. I guess we got there, huh?
I appreciate the opportunity I've had to serve with you and under you for this last year. You're a remarkable soul, big heart. You've always brought a different perspective. I try to analyze everything I can, the best I can, and then here you come with a different way of looking at things. So I appreciate that, and you're going to be dearly missed.
Yeah, well, thank you. Anyone else? Not that you have to, it's just.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna try. I don't always agree with you,
That's a good thing.
but knowing you has made me a better person. And I am so thankful that I've had you the last 4 years on this journey. I couldn't have done it without you at all. And then you make me strive to work harder. So I would vote for you in any situation, and I would work by your side in any situation. And the integrity that you've had in this position is just beyond comparison to what so many people maybe would do in a similar situation. And so I'm really grateful, and I'm sad to see you go, selfishly.
I appreciate that. Anyone else comments?
Well, I've
It
only
doesn't
worked
necessarily
with
have to be about, it can be about anything.
Well, but this is you. So I've only worked with you for 8 months, and it's been a great 8 months. And yeah, I hate to see you go. You've been good for this board and
This
school
district,
district, and
It's a tough decision.
I'm sure. So you'll be missed.
Oh, thank you.
And I appreciate your evenness. So it's nice when things get, because sometimes things can get a little heated.
Mhm.
It's nice to have someone who can be dispassionate and evaluate things dispassionately and look at what the issues are. And I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, and don't forget to not take yourself too seriously sometimes too. 'Cause there's value in a little bit of humor and there's value in some levity. I mean, this is serious business, but it doesn't mean we can't laugh too and have some fun at it. But anyways, no, I appreciate the comments and I don't think I'm going to go all that far away because I still have a kid who's in high school, who'll be a senior next year. So I'll be around. You may or may not hear from me, but I'll still be around.
And I feel like you could do the honorary diploma day for that last one.
Oh, that would be cool.
I'm putting that out
All
there
right.
now.
Oh, that will be cool. All right. So, and then, Clerk Lamont's going to check do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes.
So how public comment works is you have, we want you to be able to come up there and comment or talk about anything that you would like to talk about, okay? This is something that I've always really had a passion about, is to make sure that people in the community have a right or exercise their right to address government, and school board is part of that government. So I want to give you the opportunity, and I think we always have, to give you that opportunity to come up and talk about anything you would like to. However, you only get 3 minutes. So you can come up, talk about whatever you would like. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda, but we're here to listen, to hear you, and we'll give you 3 minutes. And the first person who has signed up is Phil Gore.
Chair Kirkman and fellow trustees, I'm here to say thank you for your service on the school board. And so it's good to be with you tonight. I'd love to hear from you, Jeff, in the future, next year or two, about lessons learned, tips for other trustees, particularly for the board chair. And as you reflect on your experiences, it would be great to try to encapsulate some of that, share it with
Want me
others.
to write a book? I could write a book.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. I know how to get that done and published.
Oh.
So,
He could speak about.
yeah. My name's Phil Gore. Obviously, I'm the Chief Learning Officer for the Idaho School Boards Association. You all look familiar. And I know I saw some of you in Coeur d'Alene at convention last month, but wanted to suggest that, at ISBA, we're always trying to improve everything we do. So if you had some feedback on convention, other services, opportunities, ways we could be of service to you, would love to hear from that. You should have received an email today from my office, something new we launched in October, this idea of bite-sized governance, a 20-minute or less webinar. The one tomorrow is being presented primarily by Lara Stone from the Blaine County School District. She's the board chair there and was recognized as the board chair of the year in the state. But Lara is going to be talking about onboarding new trustees. And so as you think about that and you reflect, Carla, you mentioned 8 months. What do you wish you'd have known in the first few weeks or days, or the welcomes? Be thinking about, such an important opportunity that we have is to onboard and welcome new trustees to sit with us, think with us, decide things with us. And as a fellow school board member, I'm just here to say thank you. So thanks again for what you do, and best wishes for a wonderful holiday.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks for reminding me also, when you do come up to make comments, would you please state your name and your address? If you don't want to give us your address, at least the zone that you live in here in the school district. So I appreciate that. Thanks for reminding me. Next one is, I'm going to say Kyler Wells.
Yep, that's correct.
I'm going to go out with 100% on these names.
Yes, Kyler Wells. I live in Meridian. I am the current varsity baseball coach for Nampa High School. This is on behalf of the land swap. I have several years of experience with both Nampa High School and Nampa American Legion, from 2008 all the way up until present. I've been a player and coach in both programs. I just wanted to voice my kind of opinion on the matter. I do want to express my support on the land swap. One thing I want to emphasize is that should the land swap go through, my personal opinion is that American Legion should remain at Rodeo as they see benefit from that use of the field. Multiple schools funnel into that program, and Rodeo is a good spot for that to happen. In addition to that, my focal point is to make sure that I have the best possible field and facility for my players, both at Nampa High School and Nampa American Legion. So at the end of the day, yeah, like I said, my focus is the players, and Thank you for your time.
All
Appreciate
right,
you.
thank you, Conrad, appreciate it. Okay, Jeremy Wallingford.
Good evening, Chair Kirkman and trustees. My name is Jeremy Wallingford. I am a resident of the city of Nampa. I live in Zone 2. I've been a resident of Nampa for the last 18 years and chose to raise my family here. I have 5 children who are all products of the Nampa School District, 2 of which have already graduated from Nampa High. I have 1 who is a senior this year. I have 2 middle schoolers at Lone Star who will be funneling into Nampa High in the near future. I wanted to also offer some public comment today in regards to action item 7C related to the land swap and or lease agreement with Legion and that proposed language. For those that don't know me, I have been heavily involved in the youth baseball in the Nampa area for the past decade or longer. Up until here just this past year, I've served on the Nampa Babe Ruth Board of Directors and have been an administrator with that organization, serving our youth here in Nampa ages 4 to 16 in baseball and softball. I also have been a board member for Nampa American Legion Baseball, and my children have played there. And then I also am our, I guess, inaugural president for our now new Nampa High Baseball Booster organization that we've created a couple years back and help support our Nampa High Baseball kids. Of my 5 kids, 4 of those are young men who play baseball. My oldest son, having played Nampa High Baseball and through Nampa American Legion, is now circling back as a graduate to be on coaching staff for both Nampa High School and Nampa American Legion. And then, like I said, I've got a senior who's playing ball, and then 2 youngsters coming up who I foresee playing high school baseball and Nampa American Legion as well. So I'm deeply rooted in our baseball community and our youth here and the school district. And I largely support this kind of changing of the tides. Both programs, or all 3 programs, benefit our youth, not only from the athletic perspective, but the character development that comes along with being part of youth sports and youth organizations. And I feel like Rodeo Park has been a staple in this community for a long time, a very long time, and should continue to be such. One key point that has come up at times is obviously Nampa High doesn't have its own home field and have sublet this facility for quite some time. And I feel like there's time for progression and change. And I think while both or all programs have benefit of that complex, because Nampa Babe Ruth uses that complex at times around the other programs. Obviously, Nampa Legion runs a summer program and the high school uses it in the spring. Everybody contributes. There's been tons of sweat equity by volunteers and board members alike, and the players from both programs who have, drug fields, maintained that facility, raised money, et cetera. And I think one of the key benefits to this potential land swap and kind of role reversal, so to speak, in who the primary lessee of that complex might end up being or owner would be the amount of resources financially that can be provided to that complex. Between the various entities I mentioned before, obviously, Nampa American Legion is a very small organization that unfortunately is made up, again, of large volunteer base. It's got a huge heart, but not a lot of financial purse. The reality is we operate with a very small annual budget as compared to what Nampa Babe Ruth is a little bit larger organization. Obviously, the school district being even larger and more financially flush than that, and then the city even more so. The city has taken very little vested interest in that complex over the last several years, so most of the maintenance and improvements you see there are the sweat of equity volunteers from the Nampa American Legion program and the Nampa High School Baseball program and its parents and players. I hope that if this swap was to happen, that the school district, who has yet to really take ownership of that complex, because why would you dump school district money into a complex that you don't own or have possessive ownership of? My hope is that there is some much needed renovations there, from press box to bathrooms to spectator amenities that needs to be.
Sorry, I just noticed the time has expired, so if you could just wrap up the comments. Okay.
I just wanted to say that, I think that it is likely that that complex can see the necessary renovations it needs to be that staple in our community. So thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry, I was so involved with what he was saying.
He was giving really good detail.
Okay, that's all I have signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience? I want to give an opportunity. Is there, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment, or now's your chance. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Before I ask for a motion on this, did the trustees see that addendum that was the late addendum to the personnel report? I think it was just a change in the position, correct? Or is
Chair
that
Kirkman,
the-
trustees, yeah, there was an addendum as we usually do, and then there was a small mistake on one of the positions, and we switched that.
Okay, very good. And then just a quick comment, I noticed that Glennis Calhoun is on here and she's retiring. Correct?
Chair Kirkman, trustees, I believe that is accurate.
Yeah, that's, my daughter had her in drama at Columbia, so I just had to make comment on Glennis Calhoun. Really appreciated her. Hope she enjoys her retirement, which I'm sure she will. Who wouldn't? Okay, I'll ask for a motion. I'll ask for a motion.
Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move right on then to action items, and we'll start first with request open negotiations.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, I'm going to ask Mr. Yarborough to come forward and share where we are with our negotiation process and getting those ready to open.
Chair Taylor, trustees, thank you for the opportunity tonight. We have typically begin negotiations around this time of year, usually a little bit later. We are in a spot, I think we made some good headway in building relationships with our association to open negotiations for the 26-27 school year. We know that the legislative session is going to be fairly tumultuous, to say the least, at least if the forecasts are to be believed. So we want to get ahead of that and do some good work of laying some groundwork to be ready for negotiations, and we would move to open that. In your board packet, we have done the necessary steps where we received written request for opening negotiations from the Nampa Education Association. There's also a blue card verification where they have verified by a third-party entity that 50% plus one of the certified staff have signed to have the association represent them in negotiations. And then the memo that I put in front of you of opening negotiations and approving the district negotiating team. If the board chooses to open negotiations now, we would be meeting very likely in middle of January, given the holidays are upon us. But we would this would give us the ability to start scheduling and making those meetings so we could get negotiations going for the 26-27 school year. So open for any questions you may have.
Great. Trustees, any questions?
I think for this motion, we need to get the name of the person who will be stepping in.
I'll
Yes.
email that.
Will you email that really quick? Thank you.
But I think there's 2 motions.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is, but we will need one for that.
I'm
Thank
doing
you.
it right now.
Yes, there's 2 motions. One, if the board approves to open negotiations, then I would go through who the district negotiating team would be. And if the board then approves those folks, that would be our district negotiation team.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
That's the order it's gonna happen in. Got it.
and we can even take that one, if the board would like, we could even take that second motion and wait. We could, I mean, there's 2 motions, so we could vote to open negotiations and then get the solid list even for January.
I do have the list ready for now. If you would like that, I could
Great.
tell you who those would be. So whatever the board would like, if it's just, I can tell you now, our district negotiation team would be myself, Vice Chair Taylor. And then we would have Nick Channer, elementary principal at Willow Creek, Chance Whitmore, secondary principal at South Middle School, and a new addition would be Ashley Lober, elementary principal at Central Elementary, and that would comprise our negotiations team for the district.
Okay, with just a quick little clarification, it's not Vice Chair Taylor, it's Trustee Taylor.
Trustee Taylor, I apologize. I apologize.
It's where I'm sitting.
Yes, that's, as I was saying that, I was like, I don't think that's right. I think that's Trustee
Yeah.
Jennings. So I apologize, Trustee Jennings.
So we, yeah, if there's no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we open negotiations for the 2026-2027 school year with the NEA.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And I guess I also move that we approve the negotiations team for the district to be comprised of Trustee Taylor, who is a board member, Mr. Yarborough, Assistant Superintendent, Chance Whitmore, Secondary Administrator, Nick Channer, Elementary Administrator, and Ashley Lober, who is an Elementary Administrator.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there
Thank
we
you.
go. And much appreciation to the NEA also. I mean, I think it's really good to have these, by the book processes, so everyone's clear about where we're at, what the next step is and all that. So much appreciation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is Idaho Arts Charter School.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, tonight we have the privilege of having some folks from our friends from the Idaho Arts Charter School come forward. I have Mr. Burke, he's the director of Idaho Arts Charter School here tonight, and we greatly appreciate that because my understanding is they may have a board meeting going on as well, and so he's a busy man. But trustees, you may recall last month we discussed the Idaho Arts Charter Performance Certificate. You'll see that it's in your board packet, and there's a board memo in there. And we have Mr. Burke here today to kind of provide some clarification around that for any questions you may have. But Mr. Burke, thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Chair Kirkman, trustees, my name is Dale Burke. I'm the executive director of Idaho Arts Charter School. I have two other folks here with me today. I have Lauren Danino, our middle school principal, and Natalia Pete, who is a representative of our board.
Okay.
So trustees, you'll see in our board packet is the certificate. And I know there was some questions. I think the trustees had some questions the last time we had talked through that and presented that. And Mr. Burke is here to answer any questions you may have or any clarifications that he can provide around that.
Yeah, I think at least for me, some of the questions that came up is the why. I mean, why do we I understand why, but is it necessary from your perspective, if you're asking the Nampa School District to reauthorize this certificate, this is going to sound rude and I apologize if it does, but what's in it for us?
Sure. Chair
Cut to
Kirkman.
the chase. What's in it for us?
No, absolutely. And so rewind, and I want to say that this was addressed at the last board meeting. I don't know what the timeline is for the Idaho Public Charter School Commission when they came into existence, but I think you hit the nail on the head, which is 21 years ago when the Nampa School Board authorized Idaho Arts Charter. I don't think the Charter School Commission was
Right.
around at that time.
So is it necessary then? I mean, is it to continue this? It's not that we don't like you guys. It's just that, is it necessary to continue this relationship, I guess, is really the question. I mean, now with the Idaho Public Charter Commission in place, is there a need for us to continue to recertify?
So there are three options. There are three ways that charter schools can be authorized in the state of Idaho. One is through the local school board. One is through the Charter School Commission, and then one is through a public college or university, which I believe at this point in time is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there are two other options.
I never even heard about that third option through a public university.
Well, and it's probably because nobody has
uses that.
done that at this point.
So is it more for convenience for Idaho Arts Charter to come to the Nampa School District rather than go to the Idaho Public Charter Commission?
Right. At this point in time, my best answer for you on that question is Idaho Arts has been authorized by the Nampa School Board since forever. And so there's never been a need and there's never been really the question. And so I do, to your point, I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, because there have been some other charter schools in the area that have gone on to get through is it recertification? Is that the right term I'm using with?
It's
reauthorization. It's reauthorized.
Reauthorization.
Right.
They've gone on to do their own and we no longer do that. Dr. Russell, maybe this question is for you. What's incumbent upon the school district if we were to reauthorize the Idaho Arts Charter?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees. Historically, in the past, when this first started, Idaho Arts was not their own LEA at the time. So there would be some dollars that would flow to the state through us from the state. Then we would oversee those dollars and send those down to Idaho Arts. And so there was some oversight from the district, meaning that we would send our finance director over there to kind of look through some of that. Our human resources, our food nutrition services would oversee that, our federal programs. But Idaho Arts has become their own LEA. And so some of those dollars now just flow straight to them. So I think that's something that's why the question is here tonight. There are some things in the performance certificate that we historically, and we've had a great relationship with Idaho Arts
Yeah,
Charter,
absolutely.
where we do need to see some oversight in that, but they also have their own school board that oversees some of those. And so we actually have very little oversight because they're their own LA and their own school board oversees those. So to that point, it does raise the question, what would we do forward? I think we would, it depends really on you as the school board of what you would like us to do as authorizing it, because we would have, based on the agreement, the ability to go in and see those things and ask for those things. And you would have the right as a board to ask for those things if you would like. You'd have the right as a board to ask for a fee if you'd like us to oversee those things. But
I'm sorry, did you say fee? Like money?
my personal thoughts as superintendent is they already have a school board that oversees those.
Yeah.
And those dollars don't flow to us. And the vast majority of my time is spent on our schools, our district, our children. They have their school board, their district, their children. And so it really is up to you to decide that. And we will do whatever the school board would like us to.
Okay, Trustee Benz?
And if I remember correctly, the questions last time were twofold. Part of it was you guys are your own thing. You have your own board. We're kind of duplicative over here. And we're not exercising that oversight that it says that we have to do. So is this
Which is
even
on us.
Yeah, which is even, I mean, does it even make sense? Do you want us to exercise? I'm guessing probably the answer is no. And so are we just redundant here? Would it make more sense for you to pursue this more independent path, since you're under this umbrella by name only right now? And if we were to reauthorize, I think it was like, what, 10 years or 12 years? That's a long time for redundancy. And so since we're at the point where you need to reauthorize anyway, would it make sense to chart your own path? No pun intended. So.
Very good, very good.
It was very well stated. Ditto.
Absolutely. Okay, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz. So basically, the performance certificate, the purpose of that is to authorize and allow the charter school to operate in the state of Idaho. And so we would need an authorizer right now. The gist of it, and I think I want to get to what I feel is probably the heart of your question, with a signed performance certificate. And I know that Dr. Russell had brought it up last month. The one way to go about things would be for the Nampa School Board to write a letter to the Idaho Arts Charter School Board asking the Idaho Arts Charter School to seek a different authorizer. And so with that, I guess what we would need would be for that performance certificate to be signed. And then if that letter were written, that would give our board certainly clear direction on what to consider at our next meeting. A timeline on that. I don't know fully what the timeline would look like for that to happen. I don't know if it could happen prior to the 26-27 school year, but I could say almost with blessed assurance that before the 27-28 school year, that process could be started and completed.
So I think that was a question that we had too, is that maybe if the board decides, rather than a 12-year certificate, because that's not mandated by the commission or the statute or anything like that. It's just 12 years, an arbitrary number, it seems like. But could it be for a 2-year? And that would give you some time to, after receiving that letter, to go to the commission to. I mean, is it possible to do a 2-year?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, Mr. Burke, you could answer as well. I did reach out to our legal and ask that question. Based on his interpretation of the Idaho code, he believes that the authorizing agency is required to renew the charter for a 12-year term unless they don't satisfy one of the performance certificates. Then a 6-year term may be appropriate, and that's the way I think the Idaho code is written. So I don't know, Mr. Burke, if you have different thoughts on that.
No, and to me, it's the new charter law, relatively new here in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's the way that it reads. And so with that, again, Trustee Benz, to your question from last meeting, if you were to sign the 12-year performance certificate and you requested for Idaho Arts Charter to go a different direction, once that process was completed, then the authorization would be removed from Nampa
Oh, I
completely.
see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
so that it doesn't bind us to the 12-year.
If both parties agree. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Trustee Jennings, Trustee Benz, did you have?
So quick question, in terms of the language. Clerk Lamont, you look as though you may be skeptical about the binding to it. Is that
Okay.
right?
I think I'm just I'm listening, trying to think if you guys are making multiple motions tonight
No, I think we're gonna have to,
or have another.
yeah, let's
meeting.
get some, I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to ask the questions and
Okay.
maybe some clarification, and then maybe we could focus on,
Okay.
on what
Okay.
that decision might be. So Trustee Taylor?
Dr. Russell, administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the Idaho Arts Charter School Performance Certificate as presented. And that's your recommendation because?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, great question. One is because IDAX has been a partner for the district for a lot of years. And I think the law has put us in somewhat of a little bit of a bind, understanding that we as a district administration don't really want to oversee Idaho Arts to the degree that it's saying in the performance certificate, because they have their own governing body and they are in their own LEA. But considering that the law does not allow us to go any less than 12 years, unfortunately, I think our only option so that they can have the legal authorization that they need, and we have been the authorizer for the last 21 years, is why we decided to go ahead and present that. I think the conversations we're having tonight around considering asking that their board to consider going to the Charter Commission, so it's just a little bit cleaner and there is that clear separation that really is occurring right now. That does occur is probably wise. But the reason why the recommendation's in there is because they're our friends and we've been doing it for 21 years and that's what the law's written.
It's almost kind of an awkward conversation.
Right in front of you. Yeah, you are.
Chair Kirkman, you said it.
Trustee Benz?
And so I guess I'm curious about timeline then. This reauthorization must be enacted before, what, June, July? What timeline are we looking at?
It's post-dated back to July.
It's,
Yeah. Okay.
we're
Yeah.
fast.
Oh,
Time
back
has
to July.
come and
Okay,
Chair
got it.
Kirkman,
Okay.
Trustee Ben, sorry, that Mr. Burke had sent an email last year at some point, and I believe I missed it and didn't get on an agenda or somehow, which is understandable if you see my email account. But that's why we're here. We're a little bit delayed.
Okay.
But it is possible for this board to decide to reauthorize this for a 12-year period, but then also add that letter and part of that motion could be that the letter is drafted and sent, and at that time, if it works, it works. If not, then we still have the 12-year period.
So then we should do two motions then, correct? So one to authorize.
You could roll it into one motion.
Just say it two ways.
Yeah.
You could.
Okay, okay.
It would just be an addendum to whatever this motion is, the recommendation, and just add.
Okay.
But I'll leave that up to whoever makes the motion. Any other questions?
No.
And as far as the discussion has always somehow comes down to finances and money and unfortunately, but is there any financial liability on the on the school district as far as having our finance director go over there? Is it time? Is it that much to worry about? I guess is what my.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, again, if we choose to do that, if we choose to approve their performance certificate and choose to follow it as it is written, and you would like us to go over and oversee that in a certain degree, it does take some time and money away from our district, at least as far as time concerned. Is it cumbersome? No. It is something that we had done prior, and we could do again. We could do it for the next 12 years. It just brought up the question of, since we have very little oversight as it is, they have their own governing body. The question was, why are we in this currently? And so to answer your question, no, I don't think it's a huge loss to our district as far as finances or time. But
one thing that always worries me just is gentleman's agreement. And having the understanding, yes, we've been doing it this way for the last 21 years, but maybe in this, and I don't know if it needs to be a board decision, maybe that's a a Dr. Russell decision that if we're gonna have our finance director go over and spend time at Idaho Arts, that this is how much we will charge Idaho Arts for doing that. And I don't know, would that be a board decision or would that be more of an administrative
I was
decision?
gonna say, I would probably recommend, administration reaching out to the charter commission, or I could email them asking what their authorizer fee is, so that you guys can have comparable data. And then I don't believe you have, because there's no fee, in the actual agreement, and I think fees can change year to year. So I think maybe asking, I think it would have to be brought back to the board to approve the fee. But obviously, maybe that would give you guys time to also, since it's retroactive, is just to maybe start the authorizer fee right at the next fiscal year, or ask the charter commission what they recommend, since they are an authorizer. Because I believe, I don't want to say, I thought some of the authorizer fees were like $5,000 or $6,000. I'm not sure. That's why I think we should probably reach out and get theirs, and so you guys have comparable data and what other charter districts are doing as well, other authorizers.
So we could do that at another
Yes.
board meeting too, because right now we're just considering whether or not to reauthorize. And then-
Okay,
Trustee
so,
Benz?
may I make a
If you,
motion?
it's.
I do have one question real quick.
Hold on a second.
Would the fee not need to be in this authorization?
No, I don't think so, not necessarily, because what we're doing is just the question before us is whether or not to reauthorize the certificate so that they can continue doing business, basically, that's the bottom line.
Right.
And then subsequently after that, if we're gonna send our staff over there to do whatever might be required on our part, I think that's where Dr. Russell gets some clarification on what that authorization fee might be. And then at that point, bring it back to the board. Because I doubt that our finance director is gonna run over there next week and start going through books or whatever.
So
At least
I,
that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Before we motion, thoughts on this? Do you have anything that you need to add to this conversation that maybe we need to
Yeah.
know from your perspective?
No, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Taylor, the times that I personally have worked with your federal programs director, I want to say that we've spent maybe 1 or 2 hours
Yeah, I don't think it's
together.
very
I know,
much
I
at
want
all.
to say finance could probably just be sharing our audit with you, but that I've not directly dealt with, so.
What I hear you saying is that we don't have $6,000 of work here.
I don't think so.
Right,
but-
okay, gotcha.
I'm not saying it should be.
No, I totally got it. But my favorite, he's like, just a few hours. Yes,
And
that was it.
we charge like lawyers do. It's like
Yeah.
every 30 minutes
Yeah.
we charge for.
Yeah, point
Understood.
one, actually. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, Trustee Bench, do you have a motion?
yeah, I think I'm most comfortable splitting it into 3 motions.
Okay,
So first motion, I move that we approve the Idaho Arts Charter School Performance Certificate as presented.
okay.
Do we need to vote on it before I make the second?
If that's
If
one,
that's
yeah.
one,
Yeah. that's
is
fine.
that the end
So
of your
I'll need a
motion?
second.
First one.
Second.
Okay, that motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of that one?
Aye.
I move that now that we have reauthorized, that the district administration and the administration of Idaho Arts Charter put their heads together to decide what kinds of compliance mechanisms and or associated fees may be appropriate.
Second.
Okay, made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In addition to this, I move that the school district, is it the school district or the school board writes the letter? Who's the
That
school
comes from
board?
the school
Okay,
board.
that the school board write a letter to the school board of Idaho Arts Charter, encouraging them to explore what it might take to become an independent charter through the Idaho Charter Authorization Entity Board.
I'm going to second that, but just because I need to speak to it.
Okay.
If
Okay,
we,
so- Hold on. So it's been motion. Are you seconding?
Yeah, I'm gonna
All right,
second
it's
so
been
I can
seconded.
speak
So
to it.
this discussion on that.
when she makes that motion as the board, who writes that letter? Like, where does this go if we motion this? Like, whose responsibility does this come? like become? That's broad to me. So I just want to understand.
We can have,
Anybody,
we could
like
have
if,
clerk draft
could the
it,
clerk, that's what I'm
but it's gonna
asking.
be signed by the board.
And the chair.
The chair. So the clerk would draft, signed by board chair.
And it could be collaboration with Dr. Russell.
That,
also,
I'm just making
administration.
sure that I totally understand what this letter is, who's gonna look at it, and before I say yes. So when we say board, does there need to be anything in there so we know that administration has been a part of that letter and we're all on the same page, or is that?
Make a motion to authorize the admin.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I would.
Okay,
may I-
whoa, I seconded it, so
Oh,
we need to
so
let
I
it die.
can't.
So we need
Correct.
to,
Okay.
But I
I need to call
seconded
for-
it because I needed to ask.
so I need to call for a vote because it's on the table, so,
Well, could I?
Or you could
amend
just-
it?
yeah, you could withdraw, you could,
Can
she
I
can
withdraw
withdraw.
it?
Can she withdraw her motion after it's seconded?
You know, you should just call for the vote.
Okay.
Or-
Call for the vote. We'll
Okay.
just let it die. All right,
Okay.
all in favor? Okay, that motion dies. Okay, do you want to?
I move that the school board authorize the district administration to draft a letter to Idaho Arts Charter, encouraging them to explore what it will take to become an independent charter authorized by the Idaho Charter Association Board.
Second.
Okay, so discussion on that motion, clarification is that no matter what, it comes from the authors, that letter is going to be signed by the chair of the board. So
Yes.
even though administration may draft it, of course, authors, that permission, the letter comes from the board. Okay, motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Good golly, did you catch all that?
I believe so. Chair
You
Kirkman,
can still do
trustees.
business.
Yeah, absolutely.
still do
Dr.
business.
Russell, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right. And the next item is a rodeo park lease.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, is going to ask Mr. Stoffer to come forward and share information around the rodeo park lease and the agreement with Idaho Legion.
Nampa Legion, excuse me.
Trustee Kirkman, Board of Trustees. In your package, you have in front of you some information regarding a potential lease agreement between the Nampa School District and the Nampa American Legion Baseball group. Now, with this, just want to do a little bit of a historical context, just to kind of bring us all back to speed. In July of 2024, 25, excuse me, I had an error in the memo. It says 24, but it was July of 25. The board authorized the school district to look for opportunities for land opportunities that might be out there for the district to look at. And one of those things that we did is we worked with the city of Nampa in a potential land swap, or a discussion regarding a potential land swap for Stampede and Rodeo Park for some property that the district currently has that's bare land. As part of that conversation, we met with the city officials several different times. And while they expressed an interest in a potential land swap, they also were very interested in maintaining relationships with those particular fields with the baseball community, which included the Nampa Babe Ruth and the Nampa American Legion Baseball. So part of that, before the city really wanted to move forward, they wanted to see that there was some there was some general consensus about moving forward, that there would still be the same users using the property. So by virtue of that, we did reach out to the Nampa Babe Ruth, and they did provide a letter of support for this process. We've included that in your packet for review. And also we engaged with the Nampa American Legion Baseball club or baseball group to work out what would that look like, to have some assurances for the American Legion that they would still have a field to play on. And so this is a product of that negotiations and working together, so that we could bring all this together to then re-engage the city in conversations about the land swap. So I want to make that clarity as we get into this. We do not have an agreement for with the city at this point in time. This is a step to be able to have those conversations. So I think that's important background knowledge to know, is that we needed to have a letter of support from these entities or agreements in place that if we were to obtain the land, that they would still continue to having access and be able to play on the field.
Mr. Stoffer, isn't this kind of putting the cart before the horse?
Chair Kirkman, and the answer is that It seems like that.
Yeah.
However, I think for all the entities involved, there was some assurances that they wanted to have in place to, instead of, like you mentioned, the gentleman's agreements. So this is not a practice that is uncommon in the business world. However, it's new to us because we don't play a lot in the land development arena. So we did work through this process to assure the city that we had worked with the groups, and also to provide some background for the board to consider as part of this process.
So you're asking the board to, your recommendation is to approve this lease, correct? So I'm looking right at ownership in this lease, and it says the Nampa School District is the sole owner of the facility, including the land, all buildings. If this lease was approved tonight, that's a lie.
Chair Kirkman, just for
it
background, this
bluntly,
has
yeah.
also been through our legal, that they did approve this language that was in here with the motion that we have in there that says if it obtains the property. So if you look at the motion, the way it is written,
Okay.
both the motion and the document has been vetted by our attorneys. And so they approved it for this purpose.
Are those conditions in this lease?
Chair Kirkman, the
Or are the
conditions,
in the motion?
they are in the motion. So Chair Kirkman, the way it was explained, if I may, just a little bit more, is that since we don't have the land, the lease doesn't have any bearing until we have the land. That's why the dates on it are also left open as well.
Oh my gosh.
So-
Go ahead.
So
trustee.
let me see if I am 100% understanding this. We are basically giving our blessing to the language
Correct.
and not agreeing to the lease because we can't, because we don't own the property yet. So
No.
that means we would need to have another,
But-
not another meeting.
Well,
Why-
another meeting, but you're agreeing to this
But why
lease.
couldn't we, instead of this lease, why couldn't we do a letter of intent or something like
Yeah.
that to the American Legion? Say, if this land swap happens, we intend to enter into a lease. I mean, a letter of
And this is what
intent
it
could
would
be
say, yeah.
legally binding too, to some extent.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, I think it's a great question. It's one that we have asked. And again, working with our legal team and also with the input from American Legion, a letter of intent does not provide them guarantees that if we did get the land in there, they would, the concern is that the school district could walk away and not provide them the land resource for their baseball team if they did not have that. So one of the conditions that American Legion was really considering was to ensure that they had this as part of the process. Again, in counseling with our legal team, there is nothing that is illegal about this document or this process. So I think that's the.
Well, it may not be illegal, and I apologize, I don't mean to be, but it may not be illegal, but it's certainly questionable. I think that just the process, the way that it's, and I get it, it's kind of wonky because we've got 3 players here,
Mhm.
and
Well-
2 of them are public entities, so that makes just the whole process more.
Is it because contingent acts like an LOI? Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you read it based on that, it says as presented, authorized, as presented and is that supposed to say an authorized? Oh, as presented and authorized the administration to execute the lease contingent upon the district obtaining ownership of the property. So if we never obtain the property, then the lease
Just
doesn't
never
go into
gets
play.
executed.
Okay, and I
So that's
understand
okay.
that part,
I
but
just-
I
I
would
was
feel
just trying
more
to-
comfortable if that language is actually in the lease rather than in the motion, which I understand, but. I
So
just-
the lease is invalid if we sign it as the owners and we don't own the property.
Mhm.
Right.
That is correct.
Right.
However, it is valid if we sign it and then we
And
become
own
the
the
owners of
property.
the property.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is, once you vote on this lease, you're saying this is the lease that we accept. And Carly, you don't want to weigh in? I felt like, or can you?
No, I would need to recuse
Accuse
myself.
yourself. Oh,
It's,
dang.
well, based on legal, because I'm a
Yep, got it.
member of both boards.
Got
I
it.
would recuse myself
Yep,
from
got it. So you
the
can't
lease
even.
agreement.
Yeah,
Sure.
the lease is-
Yeah.
So trustee Benz,
And so, okay, as a matter of practicality, at the bottom of the lease, there are, oh wait, no, never mind, it's not on this one. There was somewhere that I saw signature lines. Where did I see signature lines?
Chair Kirkman and trustee Benz, at this one, we did not put those on there.
Okay.
Again, on the advice of
Perfect.
our attorney not to put those on at this
And-
point in time until the land swap occurred, and then the signatures would happen.
That's what I wanted to find out.
So without the signatures, there's not.
Yeah.
not-
So
okay, fine.
we are saying if this happens, this is the language, this is the lease, it's ready to go. As soon as, if that
Yes.
trigger is ever pulled, then we do not need to come back and reauthorize it. It's already set. You'll just bring the papers fresh off the presses
Signature
for the
page.
signature. Yeah? Okay. Now I'm
Trustee
following.
Benz,
Thank
that
you.
is correct.
Okay.
Are there any active leases currently on it?
Chair Kirkman and Vice Chair Jennings, the answer is yes. So there's two leases that are currently on the land. One is with the American Legion. The city leases to the American Legion Baseball Group, and they sublease it to the Nampa School District for Nampa High.
Oh, so the order would be swapping.
There would be a couple of orders that
Yeah.
the owner would swap, and then there would be just one lease instead of two leases.
Is it a multi-year lease already in place?
Chair
Because it
Kirkman,
should transfer with ownership.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Jennings, the language is not in there to be able to transfer with it, so that the current language does not have that. So that's why another lease would be required to be in place. The other condition with that is because of the strangeness of how it's all structured. Again, the idea was that we needed to reissue the leasing arrangements, and the arrangements in this particular lease, as you are looking at it, is a 5-year lease with a 5-year renewal.
And where does Babe Ruth come into this?
Yeah.
play?
Great question, Chair Kirkman. So there's two parks. As I noticed you mentioned the Stampede Park and Rodeo Park that are on the map that I provided as part of this document. Rodeo Park is independent. It's its own baseball park. And the Stampede Park are those that are directly more behind Snake River Elementary School. And so there are smaller fields. If you look on the graphic up on top, the one in black is the Rodeo Park, which we're referencing in this particular
That's
lease.
Laughlin Field.
That is Loft Home Field. It's Loft Home Field at Rodeo Park is the name.
Does Babe Ruth have a multi-year lease in place that transfers?
They do not, but they do have a lease currently as well.
So we're just obviously talking about the area in black right there.
For this particular lease, you were talking about the area in black.
And sorry, the Babe Ruth has, so the American Legion just has the Stampede Park. They do not use Rodeo Park, or do they use both of them? And does Babe Ruth sublet from, what's the relationship between those two? Because if we sublet, then.
Chair Kirkman,
Okay.
Trustee Benz. So the American Legion leases Rodeo Park. The Nampa Babe Ruth leases the Stampede Park. There is collaboration amongst all three entities that play there on different times and places. There's a lot of collaboration that takes place. But as far as the proper procedure, the leasing is two separate leases underneath the current structure that the city is overseeing as landowners.
Okay, Trustee Taylor.
Okay, so just to humor me, because I'm not against any of this, but for the first 5 years, the tenant shall have the exclusive rights to sell sponsorship signage. Is this how Legion supports itself?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, the answer is it's a good part of it. And that was one of the things as we visited with the American Legion team is that was something that they needed and they wanted to help generate the revenue for their programs. So again, for our standpoint, that was one of the things that they currently have right now as far as what their usage is right now. And we did not want to disturb that, but we also put that in the future, we'd like to revisit that as well. Maybe do more of a, again, in 5 years, look at what that may look like. But that's currently what Legion has. And so we were trying to maintain what they currently had.
And I would assume that that wasn't any type of finance that we were dependent on to take over the field.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, for the boards, is that what you mean for the signage? No, we that is not something that we
ever-
currently have or
So
we're
it wouldn't
counting on
affect
in
us
this
in any way.
process.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. It was strictly, again, to help keep the American Legion whole in some of their generation of
That's
their
what I figured.
revenues.
Trustee Benz, did you have a question for?
Well, I only see the one lease draft, which is just the Legion, the American Legion one. Is if we are drafting a lease for the American Legion, so so that we can demonstrate that the current users are, preserved, have preserved their access, would we need one as well for the Babe Ruth?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Benz, it's a really good conversation and a really good question. As I mentioned before, the Nampa Babe Ruth and their letter of support, you can read through that they are willing to wait until the process ends to be able to have those assurances. Our partners with American Legion wanted more definity before they're really concerned that the district could break away from the current structure of how we share the fields without something in place. So this was a large in part generated with conversations with the Legion group so that it prevented any potential lack of service for the baseball community that they serve.
Okay, thank you.
And then, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And so Legion gets the sole discretion for another 5 years?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, that was the idea, yes.
So how this is renewed is that they are going to give you a 60-day go-ahead at expiration. And then the district shall notify tenant in writing or through email of the pending expiration date and request notice of the tenants to review, blah, 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 blah. And so it's a 10-year lease.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, in essence, it is.
5 plus 5.
5 plus 5.
Well, yeah, because because at the 5, it's their sole discretion. I just want to make sure I'm fully aware.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, the purpose of that was some of the things that you've already brought up is that there were some things that were 5-year terms that we wanted to revisit and come back to and adjust those. Currently, they have a 10-year lease with the city, and that's how the city has structured the leases with them currently. And so in mimicking that model, again, we wanted to share and show that we have no intention of disbanding what is currently there with that. And that was part of the whole idea. And again, from the city standpoint, they wanted to assure that as well. And so that this collaboration has been in place to try to maintain that and not put any entities at each other. We want to be partners in this. As you heard, both Coach Wells, who coaches for both entities, that we support each other. And so while it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of assurances that we're trying to create to maintain that partnership, that's really what it's about, is that we're trying to maintain those partnerships, and the city is interested in that as well, because they don't want to fracture this is the baseball community as well. So these are the things that they also wanted to make sure that there was that everybody was at the table, so that when we came to the table to discuss, and again, as a reminder, there's still a whole lot that has to happen. This is just step one in multiple steps.
I agree. I'm just making sure, because that last sentence says if either party seeks to renegotiate the terms of the agreement at the 5-year renewal, written notice must be delivered 120 days in advance. But at its sole discretion, the tenant has the exclusive option to renew this lease as is, right?
Chair
So
Kirkman, Trustee
you could
Taylor,
come
yes.
back and say that there is some need for us to renegotiate for some reason, but the sole discretion overrides that. Am I misreading that?
Trustee, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Taylor, the answer is yes. Again, the agreement we feel very comfortable with. The clauses that are only in there that we looked at were the ones with the signage. Everything else in there is pretty much what we have been doing with some other small minor adjustments in it. But in reality, this is what we have been operating underneath for many years.
Yeah, but so the parlance in my world outside of this is 5 years fixed, 5 years indeterminate, as far as a 10-year contract goes. But understanding that this is how it's been operating the last however many years, the devil's in the details. And I think that's what we're trying to get to, right?
Well, I just don't think we know what's going to happen 5 years from now. I don't think anybody seeks to change anything. Or
No, we
anybody
don't.
thinks anything's wrong.
And I think we're all headed down the same road to provide whatever is needed for American Legion and Babe Ruth and Nampa School District. But this lease, I'm looking at this lease as basically the letter of intent. It's not executable it's not executed until the signatures are on there. And that's one reason I think you left the signature pages off of this. So this lease technically just has no effect. It's just letting the American Legion know that this is what we're going to do. Trust me if I'm wrong, because if there's no signature on there, it's not an executed lease.
Chair Kirkman, I think what I I would like to get legal's opinion on that, because if you do make a motion that
Verbal
includes
agreement.
authorizing this, the board
Signing
could
the
be
lease.
bound to do that. So
You are.
my understanding is that it's in your motion. Whether or not it has
But
signature
involving
page.
real property though.
Again, this is a lease, and again, according to legal, and I think we might want, if you have that question, we're happy to come back and provide some more information on that. But the understanding is depending upon how the motion is worded by the board and approved by the board, that does have an outcome that binds the board. The signatures are a component of it, but the board is bound by the motion that they make.
Yes.
Okay, trustee Benz, question?
I want to go back to something that trustee Jennings had asked a little while ago about the transferability of the current lease and the terms of the current lease. And you'd mentioned that American Legion currently has a 10-year lease with the city of Nampa. We would be starting a brand new 10-year lease with them. If this is designed to preserve current parties, current access, status quo, basically, where is the American Legion in that 10-year lease process currently with the city? Is it time for them to renew anyway? So it's, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, or would this be like they're 2 years in and,
That would be gone.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman and Trustee Benz, they're currently, their lease expires in 2029. So that's where they're at right now, is they're within, I think 7 years is right around their 7-year mark. So to answer that question, again, going back to the component, if we sign it, it's a 5-year with a renewal at their discretion inside of this. So it would be just starting over that calendar.
Okay. So as far as the upkeep and the money that will be involved in upkeeping this park, the rodeo park and whatnot, I mean, is the district budgeted for that? Where's that coming from?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman and trustees, really the components that we have right now, since it's attached to one of our facilities, our maintenance is minimal because we're already on site mowing and handling all those things. I think that's one of the key ingredients to this. And the reason why it interests the district is because it's surrounding already one of our schools that we maintain.
Would the levy money that was just authorized, would that money be available to maintain some of this?
Chair Kirkman,
This was-
the short answer to that is for the specific designs of the levee. So if you're speaking to the lights and to the turf, they would not, because those were specific for the two schools that were mentioned. It currently has lights, so albeit that everybody would love to have LED lights, it has lights, so it's functional at this point in time, and we use those. As far as the lease components for those two particular line items, they would not apply to this facility.
So we don't necessarily know what the financial liability is not the word I want to use, but the financial commitment would be to this until we get to that point.
Chair Kirkman,
Down the road.
the answer is we know a little bit about the electrical because we do share in those costs. So there's some costs that we do share with American Legion, so we do have some ability to project those out. And again, these costs are not monumental costs. The upkeep as far as the facility itself, with the land maintenance, again, we're already on site, so there are costs. Don't get me wrong, there are costs, but those costs are minimized because of its placement and its location.
But we're not looking at in 2 years building a whole new set of bleachers or something like that, or concession stand, or something that's going to be significant costs that we're not budgeted for at this point right now. I think that's a concern I have right there.
Chair Kirkman, I think there are some things that we would have to look at, and we can bring those to you. Again, the purpose for today was just to we're not at the land swap discussion yet. This is just about the lease and to see if we can even have discussions with the city. So this is kind of step one, to kind of lay it out again is a process. In order for us to go visit with the city, we needed to have both the Nampa Babe Ruth and American Legion essentially on board. I'm using that term loosely, on board, moving forward with us to have discussions with the city.
Per the city's request.
Per the city's request.
So it's them or nothing, according to the city.
Correct.
We'll happily keep it.
Correct. So if we do not have that collaborative effort in front of the city, then there will be basically the discussions end as far as the land swap potentiality.
Yeah, and forgive me if I'm mistaken on this, but if this lease is approved, then it basically binds us to moving forward. I mean, honestly, it puts us in a position where
No.
Chair
Chair Kirkman?
Trustees, I believe it does bind you in moving forward, at least to start having a conversation.
With the city.
It does not
Oh, yeah,
bind you
not
into
to give the land.
swap. And
No.
Trustee
That's all I
Kirkman,
wanted to
that's
make
where
sure.
I think the questions of how much is it going to cost the district, what type of upgrades,
Yep.
what type of renovations are going to need, where that money coming from, that's when that discussion would
So if
happen.
the board at that point decides, wait, it looks like there's gonna be way too much expense, there's still an opportunity for
Yes.
the board. Okay, that's where I want.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman,
Yes.
you're going to have
I'm
multiple
solved.
more points.
Oh, that was the ode to me.
So
That's
again,
right.
bigger picture, just
Yeah.
looking at land acquisitions, and I apologize to come back to this piece, as a reminder of some of our land acquisition or any type of those transactions, because we're going to have another one so here in a little bit. So this will help us with that discussion as well. The board always has the opportunity to have, when a land acquisition is presented to the board has really three options. They can basically say yes, they can say no, and they can say try again. Or there's a fourth, they could do nothing.
Yeah, that was a little bit confusing to me with this lease right now. So I'm good. All my questions have been
Yeah,
answered.
Chair Kirkman Trustees, if you'd like, we also, I
Mhm.
mean, you could table it tonight. We could come back with legal and have legal here to answer more questions if there's still some, because I'm hearing a lot of confusion about what if.
Well, the confusion that I had has been cleared up. So at least for me anyways, and I'll leave it up to the board to,
And Chair, I
if
was
they
gonna
want to move
ask,
forward. or not.
Mr. Stoffer, did they say if they approve the intent of the language instead of approving the lease, would that suffice? Because it feels like what I'm hearing at the table is you're also concerned if we down to a lease agreement.
Yeah, but it's been
It's
clarified.
clarified in there. Yeah, no, I just think I'm going over the lease because this is the lease. Like, once
Yeah.
we're done, this is the lease, so I just think do it now because I don't even need you to bring it back. So, okay, couple more questions. I truly feel if Legion wasn't happy with this, they would have shown up in full force. Do I have any Legion members?
Chair Kirkman, we do have a
Okay, good.
representative of Legion here with us as
Yes,
well, the president
And
of
she
the
didn't
American
make any
Legion.
comment
Great,
at the
yep,
beginning,
perfect.
too, so.
And then from the testimony that we received, we're already shouldering a lot of taking care of the field anyway with no money.
Collaboratively, yes.
Yeah, perfect. So not much really changes here. So what I hear you saying is that this is sufficient for what Legion needed to feel confident in us taking over the field. All of that conversation's been done. And yeah, I feel good about, I wanted to go through the lease because I don't want to do this again. And I would never sign a lease that I didn't ask a million
Yeah,
questions about,
exactly.
like flat out. So yeah, good. I don't think that there was any ambiguity here. I just think that I totally get that this is the lease if we move forward and we won't see it again.
Correct.
Any further questions on this?
Is the rents in this, is it the same as what they're currently paying to the city?
Chair Kirkman and Vice Chair Jennings, it is a little bit different. We're charged $50 right now is what we're charged a year. So it's just more of a token fee because law requires it. So in this one, we put $1.
Does the city have much maintenance of the facility itself?
Chair Kirkman, right now, currently the city's investment is they help mow the outfield and they turn on the water, they turn off the water. So it is minimal, according to Cody Swander, who's the director of parks. But most of everything in between is partnered really between Legion and the Nampa baseball teams.
And Nampa would be completely out of the picture if this moves all the way through.
City.
No, the city of
Yeah,
Nampa.
City.
Yeah,
City,
city of
yeah,
Nampa.
yeah.
Should have clarified that. Okay, any other questions?
No?
All right, I'll entertain a motion, whatever it might be.
I move the Board of Trustees approve the facility lease agreement between Nampa School District 131 and Nampa American Legion Baseball Incorporated as presented and authorize the administration to execute the lease contingent upon the district obtaining ownership of the property described in the agreement.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
For your patience, Mr. Stoffer.
I feel like that made your night fun.
Okay, and the next item on the next action item on the agenda is STEM magnet.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman Trustees, tonight before you, in your board packet, you'll see there's a action item around the STEM magnet. You'll also see a couple other documents in there. You'll see one around a PowerPoint and a run around a STEM magnet proposal. So in a few minutes, I'm going to have those folks come up and share that proposal. I want to provide just real quick background. If you remember a couple of months ago, we had talked around the idea of proposing a STEM magnet here within Nampa. And that was for three reasons. The first is because we have our STEM high school, which we've had for some while, and it's been successful, but we have not had a K-8 feeder program into that. The second reason is because STEM education is very popular amongst our communities and parents and other school districts. And if you remember, we brought up a list that said that showed many of the school districts in the Treasure Valley have some STEM magnet education in them, Nampa being one of them that doesn't currently. And then lastly, it had to do with the ability for choice for our parents and families. That's something that we as a district have tried providing. The board has tried supporting more choice. And so having an option for that is one reason why we want to explore it. For us to explore that then was for us to create a magnet document, which would clearly outline what the kind of goals and purpose and education of the school would be. And we had 3 individuals that spent a lot of time working on that, very knowledgeable individuals. I'm going to ask them to come up now and get prepared to kind of share that information. And they're going to share that with you and kind of walk you through that document, answer any questions you might have with it. And then the last part we want to talk through is I want to be upfront and clear about the potential costs and estimates that we have. And you'll see that's in your board packet in a PowerPoint towards the end. There are going to be some upfront expenses, and I'll be happy to talk through that kind of at the end of that. But we have Mr. Pruitt from Iowa here, Ms. Andrade from Iowa, and then Ms. Williams from our district office here to share, as they are very wise folks and have put some time into that. They're very knowledgeable STEM education. And also are very excited about seeing this option and opportunity with our children potentially in our district. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Pruitt.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Russell, Chair Kirkman, and trustees. My name is Preston Pruitt. I'm the principal at Iowa Elementary School and a former science teacher at Skyview High School prior to that. Very excited for this opportunity to share this draft proposal, this magnet proposal that we've created. There was a large group of people that got together beyond just the 3 of us. So we had Dr. Russell, we had curriculum instruction, we had administrator, we had several coaches and teachers that were part of this. We also had members of the community that came. So we had somebody from Micron who came and shared insights and thoughts. We had a couple other businesses. We also had an administrator from a neighboring district charter school. He started this STEM school and came and shared his insights in creating a school of this manner. And so the proposal we have is to create a K-8 STEM Academy opening in August 2026. The Academy will, the plan is to launch with grades 4 and 5 and then expand annually from that point until it serves grades K through 8, which is a nice lead in to the Nampa STEM Academy at Columbia High School. And so it's building that pipeline of students coming up through that program. The Magnet School is a school of choice and open to all students. Our mission is very simple: to ensure that every student achieves at high levels through rigorous hands-on STEM learning that builds critical thinking and creativity and collaboration. And then our vision is to develop curious, confident innovators who are ready to lead, create, and thrive in a rapidly changing world. And we'll have Drew go ahead and introduce the core values.
All right, Chair Kirkman, trustees, I'm excited to share with you the next portion of the magnet document that was shaped by input from this wonderful STEM committee. So this is centered around the values of this potential STEM school, and that really helps inform the culture of what this might look like and feel like every day for students and for families. So we really anchored this around 4 STEM values, using that as the acronym to keep that easy to remember. And we purposely aligns the language that you'll see throughout these values with language that you see if you look up Columbia's STEM Academy program, just trying to think forward over how to intentionally create that pipeline. And again, these describe the kinds of learners we want to develop and the kinds of learning experiences that families could expect. So our first value is around seeking solutions. So we believe students should be encouraged to wonder, ask questions, and persevere through any challenges in their learning. Thinking about problem solving is just an ongoing habit that we can develop. The next is think creatively. So we hope that students will be encouraged to design, to build, to create, and really know how to use the technology and tools at their disposal so they can turn ideas into prototypes and solutions. Next is engaging collaboratively. One thing we heard, especially from our partners in industry, is that STEM work rarely occurs in isolation. So we would anticipate and envision students sharing thinking, testing ideas with peers, and really improving through that process of collaboration and teamwork. And then last is make an impact. This would connect the learning that happens in the classroom to life outside of the walls of the school. So students would use STEM as a vehicle to help serve and connect to their own community. We tried to keep this very intentionally simple so that it can be lived daily throughout learning experiences, projects, and how students see themselves. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Shannon.
Thank you, Drew. Chair Kirkman and trustees, I'd like to quickly highlight the 5 focus areas that we would like to bring the mission, vision, and values to life. So the first one would be integrate STEM instruction and active learning. STEM would be embedded into the core instruction with hands-on projects, inquiry, and real-world challenges that align to our standards. Second would be our professional learning and teacher development. It'd be establishing professional development that's ongoing and creating strong professional learning communities for our teachers. Making partnerships with universities and STEM experts so classrooms receive high quality STEM learning opportunities. And then the third would be partnerships and industry connections. So students would engage in these authentic opportunities from the community and our industry partners and higher education institutions. This would ensure relevance, expose students to STEM careers early, and establish advisory relationships with those partners. The fourth is family and community engagement. We want to ensure that all families in the community have an opportunity to engage in our STEM learning through STEM nights, showcases, and other outreach events. And lastly, the fifth, the school identity and growth. We want to build this school of choice with the clear mission and vision, with plans to grow this into a K-8 STEM academy. And we would love to pursue STEM designation. And so these focus areas would ensure that it's just not a school with a STEM label on it. It would be a sustainable K-8 STEM education. Thank you.
Okay, we are on page 4. So we're gonna look at the timeline just really quickly. Part of the committee is really just that phase 1, where we help draft this magnet proposal. The real fun begins in phases 2 through 5 with, the recruiting of teaching staff and administration. And then the most important part is recruiting, students and families and community to be excited and engaged in this process and starting the school and then seeing it grow throughout the coming years. And I'll let you dive into that timeline further on your own if you haven't already. On the last page, just really quickly, we've already kind of highlighted these, but we're going to program highlights. There's integrating STEM curriculum that we already have. The curriculum we have has a lot of different pathways that already lend itself to integrating STEM into it. We want to see the creation of maker spaces and innovation labs so students have experience with hands-on real-world technology. We want them to have authentic problem-solving experiences. And then, as we talked about already, that STEM pathways leading to further experiences here in the Nampa School District and in the community. And then be able to showcase the amazing work that our students are doing through those parent and community engagement activities. We briefly talked about partnerships that we've already have in place. Like we have many, as you know, many wonderful partnerships in the Nampa School District, NNU, Boise State, the STEM Action Learning Center. We want to continue to foster those as part of the school and then build new ones to support our students. And then the last section there is just that how we're going to be accountable. I mean, we're going to see students growing at high levels, both in math, science, ELA. And that's going to be one of our greatest measures is our students learning. And then also, are we engaging our community and our families, and students are excited to come and stay with us and then grow throughout the years to come. So this is basically the foundation to the K-8 magnet school that we worked together with many people to propose to you tonight. If you have any questions for us, we'd be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, could you, sorry, Tyler, yours just so quick. If you could put that last, yeah. So STEM designation recognition, is that through the state of Idaho Department of Education, or is that through a national type of recognition, or what does that look like?
Yeah, Dr. Russell was about ready to jump on that.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees. It would probably be through a national because the state of Idaho has, I don't know, lack of a better term, kind of counseled their department of what it was, the STEM Action Center. I think it's still around, but I don't believe they're, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that they're certifying any longer. But there are national ones that we could go out and reach out and get that designation, which we'd like to do. We think that would feed nicely into our high school, which is a certified high school.
perfect sense. And this might be a premature question, but how, if the board approves this, what do you think the number of students in the first class might look like?
Full.
Well, it'll be full, I
Yes.
know, but are you looking at, and again, probably way premature, but.
Yeah. Chair Kirkman, trustees, Chair Kirkman, are you asking the physical number?
Yeah, how many numbers?
Yeah,
of
so
students?
we're looking about probably 50 per grade level.
Because you're
So
gonna do a
two
lottery,
classes.
probably a lottery.
Yes,
system
we
or
would have to
something.
do a lottery system. So you'd have 2 classrooms of 4th, 2 classrooms of 5th grade for 100 total kids.
So the capacity of the program is 100 children total.
That's where it would start out. And the reason we're starting out, and we could segue into the cost, but the reason for that is cost prohibitive, so that we can place it within a current existing building and school to maximize the use of nutrition services, counseling services, special education, some of those things that are very expensive to start a school on its own. As a school grows, and as we mentioned in the magnet, we anticipate taking on grade levels further right now until it gets to K-8. Very similar model that we did in the district with New Horizons. New Horizons started out with a couple of grade levels and then began to expand out. New Horizons is our only other magnet school that we have in the district. So we have had some experience of at least doing a magnet and seeing that grow. And as you're aware, New Horizons is a very successful program and has a great deal of kids with it.
So a couple of quick comments. During parent-teacher conferences at Columbia, I talked to some of the instructors, the STEM instructors there, and I think they were a little bit soured on what had happened at the Department of Education level, the state level. And so we had a conversation about STEM, and they were pretty excited. I couldn't talk about a whole lot, obviously, but they were pretty excited about what the possibilities might be in the school district. And then the second part of that, I remember having this conversation way back, well, it was in the summer. And I think I made the comment that the district's not moving fast enough with the STEM. So I really appreciate this coming at this time, and it's a pretty robust schedule that you have here to literally start a new school by August of next year. And I think it can be done. So I really appreciate that also. Any other comments or?
Yeah, I've got
Yeah, let me start. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Trustee
Do we
Jennings?
have a school designate? I know whenever we originally reboundaried the whole district, we tried to build them to capacity. Do we have an elementary school to house these additional
Yeah, that
kids
was the
without
question,
losing?
the location.
Sure, Kirkman, trustee Jennings, right now, based on where we're at with numbers and kind of boundaries, we've been looking at Owyhee Elementary, possibly putting it in Owyhee. Owyhee right now is one of our smaller districts. It has not filled up to our projection where we thought it would be. And looking at the cohorts, we think it might get smaller next year. So being able to place 100 students in there, we feel very confident we can do that, at least for another year or two. As the magnet school, if it were to grow, at some point we'd need to get our own building. I mean, looking long-term, we would need to consider possibly looking at Centennial Elementary, the old Centennial, and using some of our $521 to remodel that. That would be down the road, though. If you remember, we closed Centennial a couple of years ago because we did not have the money at the time to build the walls and the doors that it would need. That was prior to $521 that we now have. We now have that ability, and so that gives us an opportunity to do that in the future as the school grows. Because at some point, we'd love to see it grow into the capacity of 400-ish students, maybe a little bit more than that, and it will need its own building at some point when it gets to that size. And at that size, it can have its own nutrition services, its own special education, its own. Very similar with how New Horizons. New Horizons started inside of Reagan Elementary. And it grew out of there. I think it went to Lake Ridge Elementary for a little while, and then eventually went into its new building, if I'm remembering right. I am getting older, so I could have missed a step there, but that's kind of how it started, and that's kind of our plan right now. Obviously, if there's changes or things that come up with that, we would come forward with it, but that's kind of how we've been thinking.
What kind of costs are involved to get it up and run, to get the main?
Yeah. Chair Kirkman, trustee Barons, I'm going to have Tyler go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint if you would, Tyler, and kind of go that last slide. Just these are some estimate costs that we've gone through. And the first one has to do with, and the most expensive is busing. And since this would be a district-wide program, much like New Horizons, we would bus throughout the district with that. So we believe we would need 2 routes. We estimate those to be around $100,000 for those 2 routes. With busing, as you may recall, there is a high upfront cost, but that cost is reimbursable when we get those dollars back. So we believe that there's a chance to be up to 75% of that cost reimbursed from the state, but we will not see that next year. So we will have to have that upfront cost initially, and then we will get reimbursed that in the 27-28 school year for the 26-27 school year, which is how our busing funding goes. But that would be the largest. There would be some money that would be needed for a makerspace. That'd be that creativity location, that lab where students can go in and do a lot of that hands-on learning and building and things. They would need some materials to get that up and running. We estimate that to be around $20,000. Because this could qualify, when we put it with the state, we actually would have to get a school number so that it could be its own individual school. We do believe that would qualify for $521, so we could use that $20,000 out of the money that we have already right now. Consumables, that's just the things you build and make. Again, since we don't have a school yet, we'd probably have to spend some money and build those up. Again, we believe that's expense that could be done through $521. Marketing would have to come out of our general fund for us to market and get the news out to our parents, but also our broader community as well. And professional development would also have to come out of our general fund, as there are certain requirements for a STEM school that teachers need to be trained in and how they educate the kids. Would take some time there. Our staffing would be based on our enrollment, our FTE projection. So we would look at how many students we anticipate, 100, how many teachers would that take? And we would just budget that out as if we would any other year for the school and the students there. Parapros would have to come out of our general fund. We likely would need a paraprofessional, at least to start out with, to oversee one of those 2 classrooms and kind of help run that makerspace. So that would be an upfront cost out of the general fund. And then our administrative position would need to be out of our current FTE allotment, and we're reassigning. We would not be creating a new administrative position. We would just be reassigning one that is currently within the district right now. So there are some upfront costs with that. One of the challenges is, as you're all aware, and we all heard, Idaho School Boards Association is very tight budget year. Not a great budget year, likely, with projections, and that is a concern. And I think I want to be upfront with the board in that and be aware of that. It's a tough decision, but there is that, do we sit and wait for the cuts, or do we try to create programs that will bring students into the district? And I think that's kind of the decision we need to discuss and make tonight. Our hope would be, if we market this well, that there would be some parents outside of our district that may want to have that opportunity to be a part of a magnet school, a special school with a specialized instruction. And we think we could draw some families in. I did share some numbers there that if we were to draw some students that aren't in our district, every student that comes into our district that isn't currently in our district is around $7,000. There is a lottery, so there would be no guarantee that anyone out of the district would be in it, but they would be in that lottery, and they would have the chance to be drawn just like you would for any other magnet school or any other charter school.
Well, if you're asking me, which I think you just did, my opinion is we can't, my personal opinion is we can't wait on this. I mean, I think it's past time. Trustee Taylor?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree, but just because I think that I'm on the waiting list for a robot, people. So, but for totally different reasons, but I just think that AI is already so far past ChatGPT, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what we've taught our kids, and that's the world that they will live in regardless. But okay, so my questions really are all around funding. Do we have any idea the capacity of which the students in our district that we do not serve? Like, if I were to say to you, like, Dr. Russell, there's 500 kids that we know that we don't serve in the district. We don't really have any way of knowing that, correct? Or do we?
Sure, Kirkman. Trustee Taylor, we have generally, thank you guys.
Or you guys can sit down.
When we looked at our enrollment projection a couple of years ago, we did look at how many students are going to IX, how many students go into Legacy and Victory and some of those charter schools, how many go to online. And we try to get a general idea. It's really hard for us to know without asking each of those. We also looked at birth rates, but we believe at the time, and this was 3 or 4 years ago, there was about 19,000 students inside our boundaries. And at that time, we had about 14,300 of them. So we estimate there was 4,000 or 5,000 students that were in other options that would live within Nampa that were going to charter schools or online schools or private schools. I forgot the private schools as well.
And within our district, are there what's our competition for this? Like, is there anybody else doing these programs well?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, Trustee
Slide that has.
Taylor,
Oh.
very, very good question. This would not limit other schools from attempting to do this. We have had other schools in the past be very successful with it. Our latest was Sherman Elementary a couple years ago, was a designated Apple school. They did an incredible job. Mr. Stoffer and his folks kind of helped lead that. Iowa Elementary, currently one of the reasons why a couple of our friends from Iowa are here tonight is because they are looking at expanding and doing that as well in Iowa, or at least starting that process. So other schools have done that. They still can do that. We would actually encourage them to. And one of the ideas with the STEM is hopefully that would be like a learning lab that other schools and administrators and teachers could actually go into that school and to learn a little bit more, to extend those practices to other buildings if those buildings so choose to. So to answer the question, it does not limit. There are some others doing it, but this would be our most purposeful one, focused one, and the one that we'd actually give as much resources as we're able to grow.
But you're talking about within the district.
Within the district.
So competition as far as like with private schools.
Within the
charter schools.
community.
I saw the list, but I'm asking for, is there anything that's not on the list locally within the
Locally,
district
yeah.
that we've missed that maybe exists?
Yeah,
that's
sure.
not ranked or?
No, there is not.
Oh, good.
Okay, so I mean, I would assume that in all of your guys' meetings, you come through and what I hear you saying is it would be tight, but it's doable, or you wouldn't have presented it.
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Taylor, administration believes it would be tight, but it's something that we need to do. Otherwise, we're going to continue to lose funds, and we need to try to attract students.
I agree.
So we think we're in that state where we need to try to do something to attract students.
Cautious, is that a word?
There you go.
Yeah.
Are we responsible for busing students regardless of where they live?
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Jennings, very good question. We have it written that if a person were to get in the magnet, they would need to get within at least our boundaries, is the way our bus is drawn. So we would not be going out to CUNA to pick up a student. We would not be going out to Caldwell to pick up a student. Those parents would be responsible getting their student to the nearest bus stop. And that's in our open enrollment policy, I believe, is that we have that written. So it is in a policy for the board.
Well, I guess along those lines, our district is large in terms of actual mileage. And for 2 bus routes that would go hither and yon throughout the district, what realistically would we be looking at, like for like transportation times for kids? Because that was an issue that came up last time.
Yep.
So
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, very good question. They would be longer bus rides. There's no question about that. Similar to New Horizons is much longer than our other bus rides. So that is something that we'd have to communicate to parents upfront to know.
Before they lottered. But I mean, it's a
45,
lottery.
45 to 60 minutes, pretty average, sometimes a little over an hour. Mr. Stoffer could maybe share more if we have specifics on how long those are, but we anticipate them being longer bus rides. Again, we're starting with 2 routes because the number is smaller. As a school grows, you would add more routes, but you would do that as the student population grows so that you have the funding to be able to justify the additional routes.
And that's just something that parents are going to have to consider.
Yeah, before they lottered.
Before they lottered their kids into
Yeah.
the school. But providing the parents the opportunity for the kids to go to a school like this, I think is fantastic. And who's to say, maybe, I hope Micron's listening. Maybe Micron can shovel a few dollars our way to maybe get this up and running. It's not like they haven't done that before.
Yeah. Chair
I hope
Kirkman?
any of
And
the
I'll-
people listening want to give us money.
Yeah, and
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, Trustees, that absolutely, that is one of the things, Micron, Apple, Amazon, we named some of the partners in there. If we build something and have it running, it does make it easier to ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
need
if
to
we build
ask,
it, they will
and That
come.
will be part of what we'll need to do. I do want to make sure that the board see the things, how we would plan on monitoring that. Ultimately, it's the board to decide how you would like to monitor this school. It is your magnet school. And so this is a proposal for tonight, but if there's adjustments that you'd like to see and say, I'd like to see maybe this being monitored within the school or this feedback brought, that's always within the board's purview to do so and to think through.
But that's something that would probably come
Change it
down
any
later. So
time,
what you're
yes.
asking for right now is like, hey, we're presenting this proposal. We want to move forward.
Yeah.
With what-
Chair
with
Kirkman,
what's
trustees,
presented.
tonight is just, this is the general idea. Here's where we're at. If you feel comfortable with that, our next step would be to go to the state and get the school number, and then we'd look at hiring an administrator and start the lottery process as quickly as possible and give you updates probably in the next
All
couple
the
of board meetings.
curriculum and all that. Other kind of
Yes.
stuff. Okay. Any other questions?
I got a couple.
Mr. Jennings.
I guess I'm led to believe, okay, assuming that there's a possibility we're just gonna pull kids from our own district that we're already accounted for.
Correct.
We're not gonna take enough from any one class to
To
reduce
generate.
us a teacher. So there is a fair possibility that we are increasing every staff member at this school will be a new hire.
Chair Kirkman, trustee Jennings, there is a potential that we would have to budget additional FTE if we just had only kids from our district. And that is a risk. It is a financial consideration, thank you, that we would have to look at and determine. It is 2 FTE, so it's not a huge amount. But yes, we do not want to only just, well, we do want to provide the service for our parents and our families, because we believe that we have parents and families, and we had some on the committee that came together are very excited about having their children attend a school like this that we do not have currently right now. However, one of the reasons we consolidated is because we were inefficient by having small schools and putting resources towards small schools. So we don't want to get back into that again, because we did right size our schools and we did save costs by being able to close some of those. And so it's creating another school that's small. So to the extent there is a little bit of a wait and see who comes in that lottery, we won't know until that lottery is. But to answer your question, in that situation, if it was just all our students, we would have to look at adding more FTE or making class sizes larger in some of the others to squeeze out those 2 FTE, which is another option as well.
Is there a reason that we didn't go with the middle school age kids to start so they can continue in that exact same pathway going to Columbia? Or now they're going to have a gap of middle school before they can go to Columbia?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustee Jennings, I believe it had to do with starting the school in an elementary setting, and thought it would be best to start with elementary and then build students up to that instead of rather than in a junior high, and felt like it was a little bit more popular in elementary, at least parents and wanting that. And if we were trying to attract parents from outside of our district, the elementary is typically where they want to send and start that. I don't know if you guys have other thoughts on that, but looking at our team here that was discussing that.
I guess I just want to make a comment in such that I don't know how much outwardly this will attract as much as I think that it's a necessity for the children already in our district to have this at their disposal. So I don't get me wrong, and I'm actually usually the boss to say this because I really like money. So it's not like that's not something that I think people misunderstand about me. But at the end of the day, I truly feel like if we don't introduce something of this magnitude right now, we'll just be that much further behind because the world is moving. Yeah, it'll become more about the money. It'll become more about, I really think it's one of those things, if you build it, they will come. But also correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have quite a bit of space in like Greenhurst? Like, not at all that I'm asking you to rebuild or redesign, but I feel like if I did a school tour, we still have space in some places, like, or am I?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
sure,
granted, I walked west the other day and it's changed a lot, but.
Yeah, trustee Taylor, good question. The Greenhurst right now is fairly full with our preschool program and our special education preschool program. We also have our daycare for our employee daycare there as well. And so I don't know how I'm looking.
I guess
I'm going to ask Mr. Stoffer, actually. He would know how many.
And maybe I should rephrase the question to not pick a school, but am I disillusioned to believe that we couldn't do another consolidation if something grew faster based on the space that we have at other places? Or am I making this up in my mind?
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, again, just to go off what Dr. Russell said, there are a lot of current programs at Greenhurst. It is pretty full. Our preschool program has grown as we are required to do Child Find, which has increased our numbers at Greenhurst. So being also a pre-K special ed program, it occupies much more space than a traditional school does, just due to the services that are provided inside of that, OT, and et cetera. And so there's a lot more equipment that takes place there. So currently, the usage of Greenhurst is pretty maximized. There might be an occasional room that's open at this period of time, but it's not for the lack of space that it currently requires it to service the kids that we have in that facility.
Okay. But
Does
I
that
mean,
help
we
that
have,
answer the
yeah,
question?
yeah, but I mean, we have Centennial, like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's
We have
options. I guess
options.
what I'm trying to say is that was wrong of me to throw out, like, say a particular school, because I haven't seen them all, but we have options for space.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, the answer to that is yes. We have possibilities that, again, as Dr. Russell mentioned a little bit earlier, that we could come back to the board as this program grows
Mhm.
and have discussions about earlier. Again, the big key, and he mentioned it earlier, is now at the time that we had to do all the restructuring, Centennial, one of the major concerns was that we needed to do a remodel inside that building, and we did not have any of the finance to be able to do that. We do now with the 521 because that came later. And so now that we have those dollars, we do have the capacity to choose as a district to invest some of those dollars into that facility to get it up to par for a STEM school or another school in that capacity. So right now we do have options with inside our infrastructure. We do have options.
And to save you time, I guess what I'm trying to get to is that in order to do this, we wouldn't need to go acquire a building and
Correct.
acquire land.
We
I
have
just want to
everything
make
inside
that
our
really
structure.
clear. We have a lot of tools at our disposal. Yes, maybe money to
Mhm.
remodel and things along those lines, but if it were to grow, we have walls.
Chair Kirkman and Trustee Taylor, you're absolutely right. We are set up, we are well positioned from a facility standpoint to navigate this potential growth and this option that is in front of the board.
Yeah.
And it
Feel
would
very
fix an
comfortable with
asset
it.
that we already have anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just sitting there.
Just so using Centennial as an example, would it be our intentions to house all the grades in one building?
Chair Kirkman and Vice Chair Jennings, I think the idea is right now we haven't got that cart so far in front of the horse there. Again, looking back at the numbers, we're looking at can Centennial house 400 to 500 students? And the answer, it has in the past. And so we know that we can do that, but there's some modifications that we're going to have to look at. We would need to engage a little bit more some of our architects and some of that piece yet. And we haven't done that yet because we're at this point in time to move forward. But in my experience, now I've been doing this for a little while and been watching the buildings and what we can do with buildings. I do believe that Centennial can expand and grow with that K-8 model. We'll be able to handle that inside of its infrastructure.
Look, I don't doubt that there's anyone on this board right now that doesn't think this is a good idea.
agree.
But just going back to the vision statement that we read every single board meeting, every student is fully engaged in extraordinary learning experiences, preparing them for the next stage of life. And this cuts right
Right
to
there.
that vision statement.
I agree.
So in the interest of time, and we could go into a lot of detail on this, and man, I got a lot of questions too. But for this particular proposal, are we at a point now where we can make a motion on this, or do you have some further questions?
I can make a motion. I moved the board to approve the STEM magnet as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With a hearty aye.
I agree.
I don't know if that makes a difference.
And I want you to call it Kirkman Academy.
No. It's going to be awesome. Okay, Dr. Russell, thank you so much for your time and thanks for bringing
Yeah.
that too. I think it's going to be good stuff down the road. Authorization. So is that where we're at now?
Yes.
Yeah, authorization to sell district on property.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman asked Mr. Stauffer to come forward and share some information around our old McKinney-Vento home and the property we have there around selling that.
Doing whatever you want to do.
Trustee Kirkman, Board of Trustees, this is just coming back to some information that the board requested at our last meeting, and we have the information as we talked about. We do, again, this is reference to the house that is here kind of kitty corner from the property. We call it the transition house. The address and all the information, the more formal components are in your packet. We did receive the appraisal back. It actually came in higher than we anticipated. We anticipated coming around 360,000. It came in 395,000 as far as the appraisal. Now, what that means as far as the board, if the board does consider the motion that is presented, the base of what we can sell that property is that appraisal. So going through the blind bidding process, which we've done several times, all the bids would have to meet that threshold. If they do not, then the bidding process would end and I would be coming back to the board to discuss what next steps potentially could be, because there is some legal components what we could do. The board could authorize at that point in time the district to sell it to the most competitive bid that we could find, or they could say hold on to it and keep it as part of the portfolio. But again, the board has a lot of points of input before we finalize this. This is again just to allow us to put it on the market to receive those blind bids, so we can come back and then discuss the future options with the board, whether that the value is received or not. Then we can revisit at another board meeting for the next steps.
Any questions?
No.
Seems like if this sells, there's a little bit of seed money for that new STEM school.
So do we need to, I don't see the, recommended motion, but there
I've
it
got
is.
it.
Okay.
Yep.
I move, you got it?
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead.
I move that the Board of Trustees declare the property located at 446 Lakeville Avenue, Nampa, Idaho as no longer required for district purposes, except the appraisal dated December 2nd, 2025, establishing a market value of $395,000, and authorize the district administration to proceed with the sale of the property in accordance with Idaho Code 33601. Administration is further authorized to publish required notices, solicit bids, or offered as required by law.
Second.
Motion and seconded on that action item. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. The last action item is the high school graduation requirements.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman trustee is going to have Mr. Yarborough come share a little bit update on where we are with that and discuss the policy tonight for a possible action item.
Chair Kirkman, trustees, Dr. Russell, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. The last 2 months, I have come to each meeting and given you guys a verbal update about where we're at with graduation requirements within the Nampa School District. The committee finished its work right after Thanksgiving, and we are now ready to propose a recommendation for the board to consider about changing and adapting the graduation requirements within the Nampa School District. Tyler, do you pull up the PowerPoint? I apologize, I didn't have this PowerPoint in the board presentation, but everything on here was in the recommendation you received along with the memo. So there's no new information, just put in a visual for the meeting tonight. First and foremost, I want to remind the board last December, so December of 2024, the board approved to let us have an administrative committee to examine graduation requirements. And we moved forward and did that. We did wait, and it was a particular reason we did. The state was going through some changes at the State Department and coming up with new graduation requirement recommendations. And then the legislature was involved in that process. So again, it seems like a long time, a year later, but once we got clarity from the state, the document that was produced for graduation guidance actually came out in July. We started meeting in September, and that's why we're here. But I did want to highlight the folks who served on that committee. A lot of folks spent numerous hours and did a great job. I would, again, highlight everybody on here of being very valuable members. We had a number of teachers. And then we did have, at the last meeting, we had a parent representative come. We elicited parent input and had one parent show up, so appreciate them showing up. But the one I want to highlight at the bottom there is Ella Bowman. She is a junior at Nampa High School. We did not actually initially have her on the committee, but because she's a driven young lady, she decided to ask her vice principal how the school district works and asked to come to one of the meetings, and then just meshed in and she was part of the group. So really appreciate her being there. And then again, all the folks on that committee did a fantastic job. Had a lot of conversations about what it means to graduate our kids, to prepare them for what their next stage in life is. Again, back to our mission and vision statement, how do we navigate that? So without further ado, I'm going to get into the recommendations. Tyler, go to the next slide. I want to briefly summarize what the state changes that we were required to make were, and then the additional changes that were Nampa School District specific, particularly those first bullets there. These were legislative and or rule changes of the State Department. The first one was a new requirement that is required for all high schools in Idaho of a new digital literacy course. Happily for us, we actually have no work virtually to do on that. I'll explain that later in the recommendation. The other thing was to update and align to what is now called a future readiness project, which replaces the old senior project. Again, not a ton of work for us. There's a few changes I'll talk through in the recommendation. Then the update and alignment of localized pathways. This one, again, was very, very easy for us. We already do this as a matter of course with our CTE programs. And then the last two, the update of the civics test, we'll talk about that a little bit as well. Again, nothing in our procedure will change. We are waiting for the State Department to finalize the civics exam. And once we get that instrument, we'll use that. And the last one, there was some recommendation or some guidance from the state about aligning science instruction in Idaho as far as naming of courses. But there's actually some ambiguity and stuff still going on there. So that's why you see in this here, there's no recommendation. Really, the only thing that came out that is specific is changing the name of physical science to include physics and chemistry in a way that is there. I talked with the State Department specifically, and the courses we teach are fine. There's just an IC coding issue, so we're good to go on that. So again, no recommendation or shift there. And the last one is additional credits. These are, again, Nampa School District specific now based off of our schedule. So I'll talk through those credits and then the timeline and implementation plan if the board chooses to accept this recommendation. Next slide, Tyler. So again, I'm going to hit each one of those very briefly and just tell you what our recommendation is. With the digital literacy requirement, we have been reporting to the state in our IC code for one of our BCA sections, the exact codes that they want in a digital literacy course. So we actually have no work to do on the reporting correctly to the state for the IC number that the course is related to. That said, we did work with our CTE department to retool our BCA instruction starting with next year's freshmen. It will not be the class of 2028, but after that to make sure that we are aligning completely with the new digital literacy standards that were proposed in this new course and aligning that. I did speak very specifically with the State Department about what we offer and how we have it coded. They said you are in a great spot. The current class of 2028, so this year's sophomores, have already received your BCA instruction. You don't have to teach them anything differently. Just work over time to mention those standards and crosswalk and do those things, which we are doing and have a plan to do.
Work over time, not overtime.
Correct.
Okay.
over a period of
Oh, there
time,
you
not have to work overtime to do it. Again, we are a very one of few districts in the state that have above and beyond minimum state graduation requirements. For a long time in our district, we have had 3 technology requirements. Kind of echoing Trustee Taylor's conversation around, hey, we got to be ready for technology. We've been on that boat for a long time. Ms. Williams, who is here presenting on the STEM Academy, has been instrumental in the work we have done in AI and getting to the cusp of that and where we're going next. So I feel like we're in a really good spot. Ironically, the digital literacy course from the state has very little on AI. So just going to throw that out there for you about that's an interesting thing. So it might, and I think that would actually be good guidance to shift into that. Again, highlighting the pace of change that's happening. But our recommendation here is, again, everything we're doing is in place. We are retooling that course to, again, specifically align with those standards. But the class of 2028 and even the class of 2029, quite honestly, has already had that course because they're the freshmen this year. But by the class of 30, we would have that retooled course, but nothing's changing as far as an IC report and what we verified with the state we need to provide for our students. So that's the first recommendation. Number 2 is the Future Readiness Project, which again is replacing the senior project. The big guidance from the state was that we need to think about the Future Readiness Project as a totality of high school rather than just a senior project dynamic, which we already have incorporated pieces of that within our own thing as well. We have had in our senior English classes, though, where we house the collection of, if you will, that senior project. The group will likely lean back to that, but what we would like to do with this implementation or this recommendation is, if we didn't change a thing, we would still meet the requirements of the new Future Readiness Project by just aligning to the new career and college readiness standards that we have. Many of those are already in the system that we have and do. We will keep a unit of research and writing in our senior English course, which will be where we would house that. What we would like if the board chooses this recommendation, we would also like to form another focus group of just high school teachers to figure out a little bit more if there's anything specifically we want to change to the Future Readiness Project. So again, bringing to you that we need to shift and change what we call it and provide some flexibility. Now we're recruiting some folks in about what that looks like. The graduation requirement committee was not about making the Future Readiness Project. It was about we need to move to Future Readiness Project. So that's the recommendation. I'm here and happy to answer any questions you would have on that. The next recommendation, again, very, very simply, publishing in a public place our localized pathways, what we do for instruction for students in high demand careers in your area or where you live. That is already well on the way with our CTE courses, and we publish way more than 2 of those. One thing that did come up, which I think will be interesting and we can incorporate more in our district, is including more than just CTE pathways. We could include, as we continue to flesh this out, what does a military pathway look like for a student who wants to go in the military? What does a university pathway look like? What does another type of vocational pathway look like? But again, meeting the requirement of having at least 2 localized pathways published, we are we already do that. And we will continue to do that. We'll just monitor it and get even stronger at that.
Localized pathways, is that just the CTE or could it be maybe this new STEM? Okay.
It could be, Chair Kirkman, the issue would be really what would lead to employment and or certification. So while the STEM Academy K-8 would be a stepping stone to that, we could definitely lean into what we already have in the STEM Academy at Columbia and how that navigates. But all of those things there, again, the state requirement of at least 2 published, we publish an entire CTE catalog and have communication with our parents about all the opportunities for students. So again, like I said, guys, a lot of this is, we're already doing it. It's just, we got to dot the i's and cross the t's. The civics exam, we run through our senior government classes and will continue to do so. The only thing that would change is the testing instrument, meaning when the state finalizes that. Typically, the state up to this point has used the citizenship test, and the way that that is administered, if you know about that, it's a 100-question test. When anybody goes in to get their citizenship, they get 10 questions pulled at random. They have to answer those 10 questions. That's what we've done over time to meet that requirement. That's how it's been. With the new testing instrument, we'll do whatever we need to operationalize that, but it will still be within our senior government courses, and that's how we will pass this graduation requirement. It will not be required to pass government per se. It will be documented on the transcript like we already do that the civics exam has been tested and passed. So,
have they given any timeline as to when that test will be ready?
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, not with clarity. Again, this is for the class of 2028, so we still have time. We will, for sure, for the class of 2026 and likely the class of 2027, just keep rolling forward with the mechanism we have been using and signing off on that. They could produce something this spring without trying to get too political. It's going to be interesting to see what's on the test. I'm just going to tell you that as a social studies person.
Yep.
It's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what we deem civically appropriate.
I give my kids my own test.
Fair, as I would suggest most parents should. Next recommendation. Here's where we get into a little bit of some meat and potatoes for the Nampa School District, particularly. Just need to describe our last system. I've spent multiple hours in front of you all talking about our schedule change from a AV block schedule to a Tri-6. We knew we were going to need to change graduation requirements to right size that based off of opportunities that kids have. Now that we're floating into that scenario, these numbers speak to that. We have in our system now 72 opportunities for students to get credit within their high school career. The current requirement is 51 credits. So there's 21 credits extra that they would have. That's a lot. So we know we need to right size that. The group talked very candidly, and we talked a lot about what is the right balance or what's the right diet of credits within our system. One of the things that spoke a lot to the committee is we actually looked at on our old schedule of 51 credits required of 64 opportunities. That was just under 80% of possible opportunities for kids that they needed to get credit on. It's a little misleading because when you think about that, you're like, wait a second, they could fail 20% of their courses. That's not really what that means. Yeah. We have a number of students in our system that take religious release or other open periods. So those are things that flesh out those numbers differently. When we did the number in math, we looked at 57 or 58 credits, not 6, 7, but 7, 8. We did talk a lot about where that landed, and the group felt like 58 was the appropriate landing spot as a whole. Again, we had multiple meetings that was back and forth. What we did realize is we are raising the requirement slightly by literally 0.9% when you look at number of credits required and opportunity. We felt like that was better than going to 57, which was actually a drop of graduation requirements. We felt like, hey, we need to stay where, or maybe raise the bar a little bit, but also not make it unattainable because graduation rate is the thing. And side note for 1 second, we actually achieved one of the highest graduation rates in our school district's history this year when all the appeals are falling out and stuff. So we're on the right track. And we want to keep that going and supporting kids with what they want for their future and finding ways to support that. So our recommendation is we will move to 58 total required credits, which is an increase of 7 credits in a high school career from the current 51. And that shift, again, would allow a student to take up to 2 religious release courses in a trimester schedule, which is what typically the process is as we change our schedule over. So again, 58 plus 8 if they took it all 4 years. They can still graduate a trimester early under that schedule. And that's what those numbers there show, right? 58 plus 8 equals 66. If there's 72 opportunities, they could actually graduate still a trimester early, which for some kids is definitely a motivator. For other kids, it's a reality what they want and need to do. So there is that dynamic there. So a student who doesn't take a religious release, they could graduate maybe even a little earlier. But again, we needed to build that within our system of how that looks. And we encourage kids to take advantage of all the opportunities we have, including advanced opportunities for college credits and also CTE pathways to get extra certifications. So last piece, again, with these additional 7 credits, the one thing we did do is we divided them into where we felt like a major need in our society and our kids are. We're going to ask for more math. It's just a thing. So basically what that boils down to is of the 7 additional credits, 5 of those will be elective credits, but we are requesting that we put in policy mathematics instruction for particularly Math 1 and Math 2 in our system become what we call 3 of 3, meaning they're taught all 3 trimesters within a schedule. There are some cost benefits of that. It does take away an elective option at the freshman and sophomore year. However, with increasing the requirements and then maybe what kids take in their junior, senior year, we felt like it was important for us to increase the level of mathematical knowledge for our students and what that means. Not all students will be happy with this. I'm sure you're surprised to hear. But we did think very, very intentionally about how we would do this and what that looks like. So again, the additional 7 credits, 2 of those would be in mathematics. Now, I want to be really clear that that's still our upper division mathematics are still just 2 of 3. It is only Math 1 and Math 2, which are the foundation for high school mathematics. And all students have to take that level of mathematics. They will take 3 of 3. It also fits nicely with our students that are in junior high, or excuse me, in middle school that take Math 1 in 8th grade. They take all year now. So even if they're a freshman taking Math 2, they would have an all year course and they would lay the groundwork and have that foundation. It will also support our teachers not feeling like they have to cram in so much on the mathematics side. It is the most difficult of our subjects to cover or teach everything and get your proficiency. We talked about with English teachers in the room, if English needed that, if other subjects did, we came down that figuring out 2 of 3 actually worked for all of our departments, but mathematics, especially for that Mathematics 1 and Mathematics 2, we wanted to require or raise the bar there. So those are the nuts and bolts. So one thing we did do too, and I referenced it here on the screen, it wouldn't necessarily be in policy, but we do also know that there are students who struggle in our schools with content knowledge and skills knowledge. So what we are going to, if the board accepts the recommendation, really encourage our schools to have, and I put this intentionally so that the parents see it, people see it. If we have a student who's struggling, some of their elective courses may be assigned remedial instructional courses. So if you are someone who is failing English, you may get assigned another English course or another support for English, which is one of your required electives. And I put that very specifically of that would be communicated to parents of this isn't an option for your students. Our primary goal is to graduate with them the skills they need for their next stage of life. And the state of Idaho has said they need to know these content things. So if we have kids struggling, that will be something we could put in the system, also supporting those students that struggle.
And that's something new. We're not currently doing something like that now. We have like mentorship, we have opportunities for them to get the additional help. But
Chair Kirkman, it's not entirely new, but it is as a practice of how we speak that too. We do have some math lab sections at a couple of our high schools and some other things we do to intervene. But as far as, hey, an additional elective required course, what we really want to be intentional on is the students who have actual skill deficits. And this is a conversation we have all the time. Is it a skill issue or a will issue? And this is truly those students that need support, need help. We're going to navigate through and support them. And so that's something, again, that we will suggest all schools do. And that's not it won't be a new requirement because that not all kids need that. It would just be how we operationalize the system. I wanted the board to be aware of that. Finally, the last piece, if the board accepts that, go ahead, Tyler, the board accepts this, is the implementation of ramping up credits, because we don't feel it's okay to have kids in the middle of their high school career and say, hey, you got to add on 7 more credits. That just, it's not the spirit of what we do in helping students prepare. This current class obviously wouldn't change anything with this year's seniors, as we haven't even approved anything and they have a trimester and a half left. We had a long conversation about next year's graduating class. And in looking at that, we actually fell down on let's leave it the same as well, because we do have a number of kids that are already in a pathway or already down the road of they have plans for after graduating or graduating early and doing those things. So we propose that the class of 2026, so this spring would be 51 required credits. The class of 2027 would also be 51 required credits. And then this current class of 2028 would start to ramp up the number of credits, and it would be 3 elective credits. The reason mathematics isn't involved here, those students that are sophomores right now would not be able to take Math 2 an extra trimester. That wouldn't make sense for them. So we need to ramp them up. We'll put in 3 extra elective credits. That's 2 years for them to do that. We felt like that was an appropriate load for them. Then next year, the class of 2029, we would have a class who has had Math 2 for 3 of 3, which will be this year's current freshmen into their into next year. They would have 3 of 3 for Math 2, and then the additional 4 electives. So that would raise them to 56. And then by the incoming freshmen for next year, the class of 2030, they would be a full 58 credits. They would have both Math 1 and Math 2 at 3 of 3, and then 5 additional elective credits is how we would ramp that in. The only concern that did come up is math teachers and getting those math teachers. If that becomes an issue, we'll bring that back to the board. I don't anticipate, well, let me rephrase. I hope it's not. We never know with math teachers and what the pool is there, but we know that our students need more instruction and support in mathematics, and we'll navigate that through. If we do struggle, what we could do is we're bringing back policy, and that would be next August. If we wait that long, I think we need policy before then, but we would have to see what the hiring season looks like and what that is. We could make the adjustment to just start with Math 1 at 3 of 3 and then phase that in again is if we struggle to get math
but the
teachers.
graduated increases certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Trustee Vins?
And just a practical matter, you'd mentioned the math instruction and the additional support for the students who may have skills gaps. I know that adding that third Math 1 as a requirement for all students is the final step.
Right.
But with those required electives that are going to be offered first, would that third section of math be one of the first offerings? Does that make sense?
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, it makes sense. It would likely not be that third section of math. It might be a math intervention. So I want to be really clear that that 3 of 3 would be the actual content in math taught in a scope and sequence that we build. That the remedial or intervention section would be much more on, you have this skill gap, how do we support that? In a perfect world, we wouldn't have that tied to time, because if I can help a kid get the skills they need, but we also know that those skill gaps for students who significantly struggle in high school, those probably aren't a 1 or 2 week fix. And where we're on a 12-week trimester schedule allow us time to do that. So no, as far as part of the curriculum per se, yes, definitely working on supporting skills, but that wouldn't be in mathematics alone. That could be in science, that could be in social studies, that could be in English. Again, those interventions would really be core contents we would look at, and we would build that system again, helping our schools have some flexibility about how to do that and navigate what needs of the students that they have are. So that is where we land. What we would do is, if the board accepts this recommendation as it is, I would need to then go and redraft policy 2700, which I would go in and I would update the requirements we have and clean that policy up and bring that back to you for a first reading. So our policy would actually match what we have for graduation requirements moving forward. And that's what I got.
Okay.
Questions?
So I have a few.
Yeah.
And maybe I have them because you said that you came to the group December 2024.
Yep.
I was not here.
That's your fault.
I'm trying, now I'm like questioning myself. I was not here. So maybe some of this you covered then.
Okay.
But the questions I have, what is the state requirement for graduation?
Great question. Chair Kirkman, Trustee Behrens, the state requirement is now 47 credits. They used to require 46, but with the new digital literacy course, that goes to 47. Again, for a lot of districts, that's adding on. We didn't look at that as an extra credit because we're going to retool what we had, which was 51. We've required those 3 tech credits, a health credit, and I can't remember off the top of my head the other credit we've required in our district forever. So they require 47. Also remember that within our trimester schedule, we're not offering a third of the year, that 2/3 is equal to a whole year by how we do things. So it's a semester-based credit. We just have 3 semesters, if you will. So that there's some clarity, and I can explain that deeper if you need to. We're not taking in 2/3 of the year. They are half of the year in those two grading periods, if you will.
Okay, where I'm headed is, so what do other districts require? Do you know?
Yep.
I mean, just a range, curious.
I can tell you, I'll give you a couple examples. Trustee or Chair Kirkman, Trustee Behrens, on the trimester 6 schedule, some districts require up to 64 credits. We didn't feel like that was doable or, quite honestly, supportive of our students from our graduation rate conversation. And in talking with those districts, they feel like that's too much. They talk about scaling back or doing some things there that are on a similar schedule as us. Other districts that were on a block schedule, and we were included anywhere from 48 to 54, where we were at 51. That's the range that we saw across the state when we did these types of audits and looking at that. There's no set requirement of where they land. I do know a couple of our neighboring districts are just at state minimum or 1 or 2 credits above. And that's, again, for the graduation rate challenge that we have.
Sure. So you said we were the highest this in May, right? Our graduation rate was the highest we're targeted.
Yes.
Which one?
This class of 2025 that graduated. Okay. So the graduating class in May, there's a process whereby we can appeal and clean up our data. So students who didn't graduate, we clean all that up. That's 81.8%. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but I know Ms. Christensen and will be bringing some of that, and we'll talk about that later on in other board meetings. That's a significant accomplishment from where we were at the depths of COVID at 75. So again, really, really good tracking in where we're headed there. I didn't understand the targeted piece.
I was just curious. I didn't know what you meant. When you said the graduation class, I wasn't sure. Yeah. Do you think by increasing these credits, the graduation rate will go down? Are we going to? Okay. No.
Great question. Chair Kirkman, Trustee Behrens, no, I don't. I know that's a fear of ours, but here's the reality. We have the reverse challenge right now where we have students that are by the end of their junior year saying, I just have government and English left. That's all I have. Okay. So we're not really, and I know this sounds crazy, we're not requiring more. We're right sizing to the schedule that we have. Okay. And so what we really would like kids to do is take advantage of the opportunities, particularly in CTE, particularly with advanced opportunities, things that they're interested in that they can use. And we've opened up some other avenues that we didn't have in the past. We use now an exploratory internship class where we can give credit for students who have a job or an internship or other things. And as we get better at operationalizing that or fixing the mechanics of that, we can have kids that understand, oh, I still can have some time outside of school that I'm working my job, get credit in high school, and use that for graduation requirements. So I don't think long run this will be an issue for us.
Well, and that's kind of where I was afraid that we're doing a disservice to our students by increasing.
Giving them busy work?
Yep.
Yep. Giving them busy work.
Yep. It's a great question.
That or, requiring more credits when some they're just not as interested in school as others. And
so
that was where I was headed with all this. That's my concern.
Yep. Chair Kirkman, Trustee Behrens, right now in our system that we've had forever, we've had 51, which again was at 79.7% of the opportunities we have you're taking. We've raised that to 80.7. We're not really requiring more. We're requiring 0.9% of the high school schedule and how it works. I appreciate the busy work conversation because that's not what our intent is. Our intent isn't to do that to students. And we still have mechanisms in our system if a kid wants to graduate early of how they can do that, how they can get the credits they need to graduate and get out and do those things. A student could still graduate at the end of their junior year with 58 credits. There's no doubt about that. They could do the things that kids right now or in our old system did to graduate by the end of their junior year. So the students who are wanting to do that, there's definitely mechanisms and pathways we can do to make that happen. To your point, one of the things I think we have to look at pedagogically is engaging kids better in things that are relevant for them, AKA STEM, AKA finding ways to expand CTE. One of the things we can do too in this paradigm, we can increase the CTE credit they get by giving them more time in the CTE field they're in. For example, right now we have 6 credits for a CTE pathway, let's say. Well, as this builds over time, maybe we change that to it needs to be 8 credits, but they get upper division more time in the auto shop or the cosmetology shop or the EMT internship. We can change that to, again, the things they're interested in and want to be involved in, and we can navigate that from a credit perspective.
Answer all your questions?
Yep.
Trustee Jennings?
Sorry, I
Do we feel we have enough desired electives to be able to sustain this workload?
Chair Kirkman, Vice Chair Jennings, that's a great question. And the answer I would give is we have as many or maybe more than most other districts across our state. And I think that's the hard challenge that public schools are up against. In when you have so many choices, you almost have no choices, right? And I mean that genuinely. Now, what we are doing to be responsive to that, we're bringing along things like a podcasting program that we talked with you guys about of how do we do that, a hospitality pathway. We're doing what we can to navigate those things, and that's how we build capacity to your question. There are some electives that aren't on students' minds for what they want. And what we need to get better at, and I know we can get better at, is taking student requests to build our schedule.
Yeah.
Because there are multiple things in our system where we've done that, and we will continue to do that. But I would be lying if I said it was perfect. There are times when, hey, we only have so many freshman seats because of certification, and Spanish 1 is the elective we can put them in. I get that can be a dynamic that's challenging. Over time, though, we can get better at be more responsive within the confines of the restrictions we have. Certifications being one, meaning people have to be certified to teach the class they're going to. And then secondly, building demand within the programs of things that kids want or are trying to do. So it's a great question. The other thing, and this is maybe an unpopular piece, so I don't mean to go down too deep in the weeds. That's a conversation of why we have athletic release within our day. That is an elective credit that kids can have that keeps a portion of our kids involved in doing those things and receiving elective credit. That's another of our mechanisms to try and solve that problem. But the problem you just hit on is a problem for public schools across the nation. So.
Don't we, I mean, I just feel concerned that we're going to add a bunch of electives to our senior class, which are going to take up those seats that the underclassmen could be using by increasing the credits when it's not a state requirement.
So Chair Kirkman, Vice Chair Jennings, as we tier that in, that's not going to be an issue. What I mean by that is the freshman kids coming in, they're going to be the first senior class needing to do that. We're already requiring more math for our underclassmen to get those skills. I don't think that that's going to be the dynamic of, oh, they're taking up the seats, because quite honestly, one way to generate revenue is to have more kids in more classes. And that's not our intent with this. Our intent was to right size to our schedule, but that is a thing in the community that we do have to acknowledge. And we have to have those conversations honestly with parents of, for us to have programs, we have to have kids involved in those programs. And if we continue to see enrollment decline, we're going to have that dynamic. I don't think the answer is to leave the graduation requirements so we would have as much as 50 to 60% of our kids being done by the end of their junior year, though. I don't think that's sustainable for our system.
But could we move the required courses around to make it where they still have to show up their senior year essentially, or they can work a little harder, they can move classes, but isn't there a way to keep them enrolled in the district?
Chair Kirkman, Vice Chair James, that's the great conundrum we're up against, because the other thing that's happening, those 14-year-olds, we probably have a little more influence and control over what they want to do. I'm 18 and I don't have to be here by state law. I'm going to bail out and go do what I want to do. So it's that dynamic of walking that tightrope. However, to your point, if we create certifications, if we create opportunities that matter for what their next goal is, and they can do it cheaper and more efficiently in an environment where they have relationships, that's how we'll hook them and keep them. Ironically, it's not our senior class, it's our junior class that has the biggest challenge. We only require really English, and depending on what they're doing, we've tried to push them into math, but there are very few requirements per se in the junior year. Now, the cost of moving those around is a really interesting kind of shell game, because what has to happen, and it's the implementation pipeline we're seeing with shifting classes. If this group has already had that content and now I'm going to shift it to this, well, next year's sophomores, I got to fill something with, and this year's juniors already have it. So how do I balance that for a 2-year window and navigating that through? To your point, I think it's always relevant for us to look at courses and when we offer them. The best example I can give you is health. Health used to be a junior required class at a couple of our high schools. The problem with teaching health in the junior year, and I'm going to be really, I hope not too crass here, a lot of the things we're trying to do in health to keep kids from doing, they need to know in their freshman year. We can't wait till the junior year. So that piece of where do we navigate those things is something relevant for us always to look at. And when I bring the policy back, if there's something that if the board chooses chooses to approve this recommendation, happy to look at that. And if there's other insight of, hey, let's retool those courses happen, happy to look at that.
Okay, Trustee Benz, question?
Yes, so you had mentioned that if we approve these graduation requirements today, that you will need to go back and modify the board policy so that the two things match.
Correct.
Would it make sense? I mean, can we approve this if it's out of alignment with the board policy? Do we need to do those two things at the same time?
This is just an approval to go back and start working on the policy.
Well, it says I move that we approve the changes as presented,
The
so.
policy has to come back here for first, second reading. Is that what you're asking?
Right, but no, because if we are approving these changes, these graduation requirement changes, but the policy hasn't changed yet, then we're approving something that's not in alignment with the policy. So do they both need to happen at the same time?
That kind of makes sense, though.
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, I like your logic, but remember, they're not taking any changes till the class of 2028. So no matter what we do, we're in alignment for the current classes of
Okay.
what we have right now. So that gives us time to make sure that we're
Yeah,
dotting the
couple
i's and
years.
crossing the t's.
Okay.
You are correct that if we were to not bring policy back and we said, this is how we're graduating kids, we never updated policy, that would be a problem. That's not how we'll do this. If the board approves this, it really is the clerical piece of us updating policy to match what your recommendation is. Basically, you giving us the order, we'll clean that up and make sure that we met what your order is.
So would it be more accurate to say that we would be moving to recommend that the district update the policy around graduation date requirements to reflect this proposal?
Well, there's. No, that would have to come no matter what. I mean,
Yeah,
the
it just
policy would
comes no
have to
matter
come.
what.
If we approve this, the policy
has
is
to
going to
change.
have to change. And that's when they'll bring us back the drafts and
Well,
first and second reading.
I get that, but
I
I,
think that's what she's also asking. Maybe I'm wrong. What I'm
Mhm.
hearing her say is, if you guys approve this, no matter what, you
Mhm.
guys are tied to approve a policy
Yeah.
without seeing it.
yeah,
I think that's what I'm
No.
hearing
yeah,
her say.
yeah. And so is
No,
it, are we putting the cart before the horse?
Well, you're gonna be required to approve whatever section this is, the exact verbiage in it. It has to align
Right,
with
but we-
this. And that's what she's stating is, should it be done together? That's all I'm saying, is I'm hearing what she's saying.
Mhm.
Is it tying you guys to approving the policy, whether you agree with it then or not? I mean, that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm
so-
mistaken.
So in other words, okay, so the board policies should, my understanding, form the roadmap of what is actually implemented in the district, right? And so our current board policy around graduation requirements is different from these new graduation requirements. And so if we approve these new graduation requirements without first updating or simultaneously updating the language in the board policy, then what we're really doing is saying, go, this is what we want to do, but we haven't set that policy yet. Right?
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Benz, I appreciate the logic. However, the class that this impacts by state requirement is the class of 2028. If we don't update our policy at all, or whenever we were update that, if we didn't do what the state requirement was, this is us getting that in front of you, you giving us direction to then draft the policy. The board could tell me when I bring policy, we don't want this, and whatever we did, we want to rescind that. But you could always override any of those things. The board has that within your power to do.
I understand that, which is why I'm asking if what we're really doing is not approving these graduation requirements that do not match the policy, but we're asking you to take these requirements as proposed and use them as the basis to draft a new board policy, which will then put into effect these graduation requirements.
If the administration were to draft a policy first with what's in this proposed motion and then just bring the board the policy
Yeah.
and we approve it at that time, is that still serving the same purpose?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, yeah, you could do it either way.
Because it almost seems like this might be superfluous at this point, since the policy still has to match whatever decision is made.
Chair Kirkman, I appreciate that. I think the intent was to make sure that the policy we're drafting is where you want it to go rather than do it through just policy mechanism, because it was a committee making recommendation. The board could decide to not take the recommendation and do whatever you want. And I'm happy to do any of those things. So yeah, it's just a procedural mechanism of however you want to do it. It's not a problem either way.
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, trustees, if you want to see the policy next month with these implications into it, I think we got enough information so we can go forward with it and start the first and second read with that. If you don't, and you would like to vote on these, and then we put these in that policy and bring that policy forward, we could do it that way. I think it's either or.
Just really quick, can I throw out that just because I don't want to set precedents for the next 4 years? The state changes things all the time and our policy has to catch up. So like, as much as I hear that, I just don't see a foregoing future where everything that's changed, the policy aligns right away. So I have no problem with the sequential order. Where I think some of the issues lie is how this will affect seniors who work, right? Like when we're adding those credits in. So that's where my only question lies. So I'm not disregarding what you said. I just want to throw out, because I don't want to start something new where we have to bring policy and change at the same time. So as long as they're updated, it just, in all the years that I've been here, because the state will make changes and our policy then lags, and then we have to update a bunch of policy at once. So I just don't want to make a precedent that doesn't exist. So I just want to say that about this. But my question more comes for like work release, the students that we have that go to work. So that wasn't my youngest son, don't worry. But
I may have knowledge of what you
yes, so that was the hardest. But that being said, how does that affect it? Just because I think that our balance right now is very good. So I knew all of these changes were coming. It's that addition where we're requiring more for kids who maybe that's not their goal. So how does this affect those kids who are more entrepreneurially motivated and who are working or who rely on that time because they just want to go to school for that first class and then they're at work all day? So how will this change that for them? And to follow that up, just for my own clarification, once we switch to the trimester schedule, don't our freshmen and sophomore have less elective choices anyway in those first 2 years because they have to get all those cores in? Or did I make that up in my mind?
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Taylor, two things. I'll answer the last question first. No, because they have two more options than they did before, and we're only teaching 2 of 3. If we went 3 of 3 for everything, that logic would hold.
Okay, that's
but
right.
We're not.
I
It's just
remember,
mathematics.
that was the nuance of like my own memory when we went through all this. But then the first one is how does that? So that is my only question in this. Is what does this do if we add more credits into those kids who really do rely on or preference working, because we don't give any work study credits, or do we?
We do.
Okay.
And that's exploratory internship. That's the major shift. What we want to do, exactly your point, students who have those other things going on, we want to honor that and give them high school credit by increasing electives. That's an avenue we can do. The idea of them, I'm working at McDonald's for 80 hours over the semester and I bring in and show my work. Awesome. That's 2 elective credits. Check. Move on.
And what if, say, that they started a painting business on the side and they couldn't bring it? Is that still a check?
Yeah, there's easy mechanism. I've done this. Verify that. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So good point then. So if you have kids that aren't interested in taking basket weaving 101, they can go to work and get a credit.
Yes.
What if they work at a basket weaving shop?
Well, I don't mean to pick on the basket weavers, right?
We will only give them 1 credit. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
I would not have done well in basket weaving. So that was my concern, is we're going to have a whole bunch of seniors that are like, I've had enough 4 years ago to graduate. I don't now. Now I've got to go take this class. I don't want this class. And then they're going to lose desire.
Agreed.
I love all this. So I'll go ahead and entertain a motion if no one has any other specific questions. And I think if you have some really detailed questions and want to purge this a little bit further, I'm sure. Mr.
well,
Yarborough would be.
I just don't, I feel like this is really important and I do understand that there's a lot of to be understood around graduation requirements. So I just don't want to push anybody who hasn't been here for the last 4
No,
years into
absolutely.
something. So I just do want to say, like, I'm fine with moving this, but I am also fine with I'm also fine with making a motion. However, I'm
Does
just
anyone
leaving
have
for
any-
the next 4 years. We all have to be on the same page of graduation
everyone-
requirements. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
have all of your questions been answered?
Oh my, yes,
Trustee
correct.
Dunn?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And
that we
yours
get
too. Thank you.
those.
Yes. And then how do you feel? You
Yeah.
feel now
Work-
that you understand
yeah,
the work
Work
study?
release is there. I didn't realize that.
Okay,
Okay.
so
All right, I'll entertain a motion and we'll just go from there.
I move that we approve the changes to the NSD graduation requirements as presented. I mean, the motion can die, guys, if you second it. It doesn't mean it has to be approved.
Yeah, if you don't second it, just.
Yeah, it just dies either way.
Okay, there's
Okay.
no second, so I will entertain another motion.
I move that we approve these changes to the NSD graduation requirements as a basis for an updated board policy to be presented in the first reading next.
So clarify your motion. Do you want these changes that's been presented to us tonight to be in a draft policy to come back?
So
Yeah, I
the
just wanna make
the
sure.
current board policy, so what was the number of that policy that you were?
2700.
2700. Does it currently have the number and scope and sequence of, oops, hold on, I'm looking in the wrong place.
Chair Kirkman, if I can make one request, it's a personal request. I have surgery on January 5th for a knee replacement.
Okay.
If anything that the board does, if I could get until February to bring policy back, it would just be appreciated. And that way I could show up and present that where we've got time, just for your consideration.
Well, we still have till 2030 now.
We do. So, yeah.
So yeah, the,
Could also motion to table and bring it back aligned with policy as well.
okay.
I'm not recommending that, I'm just saying that would be an option. Because then they could table it to whatever meeting works best for Mr. Yarborough.
Okay, so yes, so I move that we table the adoption of the board of the graduation requirements as proposed until the board policy can be brought into alignment with the proposed changes.
Do you want to put a February board meeting date on that or not? I'm just.
Yeah, let's, I think the recommendation is to leave it flexible, so. And at the soonest opportunity.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, that motion has been presented and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's it for action items. So Dr. Russell, with all due respect, as much as I would just love in my last board meeting to sit here and listen to everything that you have to, I just want to, if I could move this along, is there anything in the information items and reports, first from you, Dr. Russell, that you that you need to let us know about?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, I think if we could do item C and item G, the finance report, would be the most critical. And the other things I think we can move, if the board would so choose to table to another, because it is getting late at night.
Yeah.
Item C is really important for the curriculum update. And of course, our finances, I think we should always look at.
Okay, and then those two. So trustees, is there anything in this information report list that you need some additional information on tonight that you couldn't get maybe the next board meeting?
No, my only question would be, is there anything that you're going to go over in those two information updates that we shouldn't table all of it as we have a complete change of the guard in January? So is there stuff that would be more pertinent to be actually an update in January based on the new board or the board change?
Yeah, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Taylor, great question. I would like item C, if it could be tonight, because there is some action that is going to be taking around curriculum that I think the board should be aware of, that it's going to be taking place. That if we push to January, it would push us further back. So I think that's the most critical one. And then it's up to the board. You've seen the documents, you've reviewed our finances, and you can choose to, if you want to do that one another board meeting, we can absolutely do that because it is just our finance report that we do every month, looking at our payments and our receipts and things.
Okay, so that's a good point by trustee Taylor. So I'll entertain a motion just so we have it out.
Okay. I move to table all information items and reports excluding C curriculum committee update to our next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Look at me being a great motion.
I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Dewey was here the whole night.
Yeah.
And
We
then-
did that for you, Randy.
And then send him home with nothing.
Feel free to pass out licorice.
Sarah Sully, go ahead.
Go Team Nile.
Okay, Dr. Russell, let's continue this.
For Kirkman trustees, Director Gomez is here to share some important information around our curriculum updates, and go ahead.
Yes, and I will go through some of the ones that have been standing items on here pretty quickly. So our committee continues to meet, and then just a reminder that I create this, and then we have to send it out to board docs, and so some information gets updated since then. So we did do an open house that we sent out to parents to give information, and this is our first time we didn't receive a single response from staff or parents. So we're going to reopen it this week and send it out. And I think part of it is because we're asking for input on dual credit calculus and statistics and upper division math courses. And it's also because it doesn't pertain to a wide area of students. It's a smaller population of students. And so science had like 17 respondents, but this one is just a smaller group. So, and time of year, busy right now.
I was gonna
so,
say holidays
yeah.
probably.
So we're going to reopen it and see what we get in terms of feedback. These are finalists again. It hasn't changed, and this is all of the names that are the titles of materials that were submitted. And so we're still looking at them. They have heard from all the publishers. There was a mistake I had made. I thought we were going to hear from Cengage, but we're going to hear from them tomorrow night. Elementary science has since wrapped. They had their last meeting last week. The secondary math group will meet again tomorrow, and we probably will need to meet in January also. And so that timeline, we will be making a recommendation to the board in January. And so any questions on the current one?
Questions, trustee?
No.
Okay. Upcoming adoptions. This is what Dr. Russell was referring to that we do need some information on. So middle schools, if you recall, our high schools are partnering with Gradient Learning. Our middle schools are also going to apply to partner with Gradient Learning. Our secondary math is on the adoption schedule for this year. And if you recall, we adopted illustrative math for the high school this past fall, but middle school math still needs to be adopted. And just a point of information, illustrative math is the high school one, and it is also the middle school one. So there is a desire to have those be aligned, 6-12 be similar. And then if you recall in this type of adoption, what we're doing is really looking at suitability of this curriculum. It's not like the typical adoption where we call for multiple publishers. We have the committee come and look and see, does this meet standards and what we want to have as a district. There are additional curricula available through Gradient Learning beyond illustrative math. There's EL education for ELA, Open SciEd, investigating history. This partnership with Gradient also allows us access to a learning management system, which is Canvas. And there is a desire to get us all on one learning management system. That's going to be a multi-year process. And so for high school, if you have students in the district, you might know that they've had, sometimes they might have to access Teams or Otis. They also now are accessing Canvas, and at middle school, a lot of them use Teams, some use Otis, but we would like to get, for ease of parents and students for accessing information, to all be on one learning management system. And so Gradient does provide us access to Canvas, which is a pretty popular learning management system. Colleges have shifted to using Canvas as well. And the other thing the partnership with Gradient allows us is access to leadership implementation support. So leaders meet with a coach from Gradient, and they help provide guidance and knowledge on the curriculum. And so we have found that valuable. We also, Mr. LeBou and I also meet with somebody from Gradient every week to help support us in the implementation of that. So I do want to pause there if there's any questions, or I can actually, let me finish my last slide. So we have two options for adoption this spring. One is to just look at the math only option and then look at the other subjects later, possibly next year, or to do what we did this fall and adopt all of the rest of the curriculum through gradient, with the note that an implementation schedule will be determined at a later date. So we would ask the board to approve these and then know that we still have these other ones that are paid for, and we would roll out the implementation in phases. Part of that is that we just adopted middle school ELA. And so while there's a comprehensive one available to us, I don't think it would be fair to do that to them right away. So it might be a multi-year rollout. However, our smaller programs such as Union and Nova are interested in getting their students into all of them. So it would give us some flexibility.
We wouldn't be able to get our money back, would we? A refund?
Well, the only one, science, we're a year behind, so we would have to pay for science, and social studies is already paid up.
Okay.
So it's just another additional year.
So you're asking for, I would say not a motion here, but more of a blessing to move forward in such a way that you want to know if we would be okay with all of the gradient adoption.
Chair Kirkman, Trustee Taylor, the idea with being a new board, yes, basically we're just trying to get feedback. Is it easier for us to go ahead and adopt one this spring? Or with the new board to think about possibly bringing the adoption of 4 items similar to what we did in our high school? And I think we're just trying to get feedback of what you think might be helpful. And I understand that this isn't the current board that will be at the next meeting.
Yeah. But no, I get it. But what gradient hasn't changed in any way, shape, or form. Like we still have the same no cost with gradient, correct?
It's a smaller cost. And
Yeah,
so we do
I
pay
guess I should say,
for,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but the LMS is a
cost
very
increase.
expensive. It would be a big cost, and so that being provided would save us
Quite a bit of money.
Quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And then the OERs, the open education resources, I believe they're already free, but they put them into this platform, into Canvas for us to access them that way. And then we pay our teachers to come in the summer to get the training.
Did you all get the gradient walkthrough?
Yeah, I did. I think Carla maybe.
I don't believe she was here at the time.
Thanks.
I was working at the time.
And I think Trustee
Sue?
Salinas is very familiar with gradient.
Mhm.
She's substitute taught there at Columbia for quite a while.
Yeah.
Is that Laura Lee?
Yeah.
Laura Lee Salinas?
Mhm.
I almost called her Laura Lou.
It's Laura Lynn.
Laura Lynn. Thank you.
So
I would have you go forward in such a way that you could be more prepared to adopt everything and then come up with a timeline. That's just my personal opinion.
Does it?
Does it make sense?
Does it in any way help consolidate committees, or do you still have to get separate individuals for each?
Chair Kirkman, sorry, I forget that. Trustee Jennings,
Okay.
what we did in the fall with the gradient committee is we just put out for the gradient committee. And so we had a committee of 20, and then we do small groups. We had a math group, a social studies group, and
Okay.
a science group. So we would try to get teachers from those content areas to help.
I was just
serve.
worried with no one giving you any input on the last
The
message
dual
out
credit
there.
math one was tough, and
Nobody
I think
likes
it's a
math.
content
That's
area.
why.
Yeah.
I know.
So we would probably, and that's what I would come to the board in January, is with a request to open up that committee. And then I think we would try to do a committee of 20 again.
Sure.
Yeah, I think what Trustee Taylor was saying is just the most efficient, easiest, if that works for.
Well, then what I was going to throw out is I really do think that maybe it was Mr. LeBou and I think Mr. Woolston who. I think that those were very effective. I think it would be very effective for you to do what you did for us with the other trustees who haven't had that opportunity just to understand gradient, but just because I felt like that set me up for success to be like,
Yeah.
oh, yes. And
It made me a believer.
same.
And then Chair Kirkman, trustees, just another piece of information I didn't add in is we asked the middle school principals, what's your preference? And their preference was to go for all of them.
Yeah. That's not surprising.
But we don't want to overwhelm the board with too much information because we've been doing a lot of adoptions.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think if you did that gradient thing, I think it would take the overwhelm out for the rest of them, because I think the 3 of us had that. And I think it just helped really solidify moving forward what we would use. And then you can always go back and look at it. And there's a lot of information out there actually about gradient.
And that might even be something that we put on the agenda, maybe a future board put on the agenda for information for the trustees about gradient. Anyways, Any other questions or?
So if we're moving forward with the Explorer, all the gradient, everything for middle school, the proposed timeline that's on the next slide, that would be in January, we'd choose the names for the committee. Is that it?
In January, I'd present the fact sheet where I would give some more information. Sorry, Chair Kirkman, Trustee Evans.
I'm sorry.
We would
That's my fault.
present the fact sheet and we would open the committee. And so then the next day we would put a parent score out for applicants. And then in February, in between January and February, you'd submit the names. In February, you'd approve the committee. And February, March, we would meet. And in April, we would make a presentation to the board. And just like the one in the fall, you can approve them independently.
My apologies. I didn't, I feel like I
I'm sorry.
got in front of you and you
Oh.
weren't quite done yet.
Oh, I've heard, and there's another slide, questions, if there's any additional
Okay.
questions. Okay, so we will move forward with adopting
Yes.
all of them. All right, thank you.
You have our.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry about all the other information reports, Dr. Russell.
No, Chair Kirkman, we would be here till late.
Yeah, I almost thought we were gonna be done by 8:30 today, but, okay, if there is nothing else, the last thing I will say as chair and member of this board is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you for. Let me just- That's it. I'm gonna use this hammer one time. We adjourn.
Yeah. Hey, nobody else wants to always.
Oh, I haven't even tried it.
But I